All right. Hey, let me get this out of the way. I am not feeling that great. Yes, I think I have an ear infection. I'll give you the symptoms here, and those who are more inclined to know more about medicine can weigh in on that. But I've got Balloonator in here. First things first, I guess there's not a flat Earth debate tonight. Reg is having it on his channel, and he's just having a debate at 6:30 Eastern. But I don't think the dude's a flat earther. I guess this is part 2. I don't know what the part 1 is. I didn't watch it. His name's Mask or something. I don't know. Nobody tells me these things. I don't watch Reg's stuff. Actually, I do. But I must have missed that. So anyways, I am having a libation hangout for those who are going to be watching that. I gave people the link. If you want the link, message me. I am drinking lemonade and a little bit of whiskey in it, mostly for my throat. So let me tell you my symptoms. You can tell me what you think it is. I have been sleeping with earplugs in because my roommates can get loud sometimes, right? And these are much longer earplugs than I'm used to, so they probably, I think, push bacteria into my ear because my ear has a little bit of a pain to it. My lymph nodes are swollen, and one side of my tongue hurts. Like I thought that I bit it in the middle of the night, but it wasn't that. So all three combined, I looked up the symptoms, and they said it probably is a ear infection. It's not covfefe. Stop it. It's not covfefe. That's the word we used for the big C word that's going around, so we don't get demonetized. But anyways, yeah, it kind of does hurt to talk a little bit. But I wanted to stream anyways because we're not doing a caffeine corner tomorrow. Cheshire's unavailable for a week, as planned. And so I got Balloonator in here. He has to go do a stream tonight too. On what are you doing? The uncalled for?
Yeah, the uncalled for over on EIE network.
Yeah, so what time are you doing that?
That actually starts in 28 minutes, so yeah. I can't stay long.
Well, this might be a very short rum and coke night, because like I said, I gave out a bunch of links to a bunch of people, but it's usually like 4 or 5 hours from now, so this is much earlier than usual. But we'll see who pops in the next 30 minutes. Yeah, Super Mommy, sinus and ear infection. I think that it actually is. So what is this mask debate, dude? Maki says, the mask debate was a marathon. I don't know who this person is. Do I know who Mask is? Does that name sound familiar? To anybody? To you?
Nope. Don't know what's up with that. I don't know who the Mask is.
Yeah, they said that it was one of the worst discussions because the guy's like worse than a flat earther. That's what AT2 Jared told me. Or AT2 Productions, Jared. I was like, I don't think that's ontologically possible. What is worse than a flat earther for a debate?
I can think of some things worse. Anti-vaxxer. A couple other things like, I don't know. They're all kind of stupid.
Well, I gave him the link, so we'll see if he shows up. AT2, I know Reg is working. I'll ask Todd here in a second. Macabre says, sounds like a throat or ear infection. People with hearing aids are susceptible to ear infections, though. I don't have hearing aids. What do you think I am, mofo? Damn, dude. I love you, brother, but you're going to get a timeout. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to do that to you. Still take care of yourself. Covfefe tends to harm the compromise. Yeah, I appreciate it. I don't go out to socialize, although I want to. There's a whole bunch of people that do. Yeah, don't sleep with earplugs in. Probably not a good idea. Because I think this is like the second time I've had it, but the symptoms are worse. So yeah, I think it's probably just got some bacteria in my ear from these stupid things. Oh, his name is not Mask. The debate is about wearing mask. Oh God. See, I feel stupid now. Thank you, Zebulon181, for making me sound like an idiot. That makes a lot more sense to me. It's about masks. That's not the guy's damn name. Okay. Who was it with then? Sorry, I'm just dying here. I'm not doing well, okay? I blame the sickness. I'm telling you, if I get meningitis off this shit, I'm gonna haunt you all, okay? Luckily,
Steve has the COVID.
You can't say the C word. What's wrong with you? You say covfefe. Man. Did you watch the mask debate, Todd?
No. I was gonna watch the second one or whatever, but I'm assuming it's just a bunch of Karens being like, the mask will kill you because you breathe in your own whatever.
Oh, wait. I do remember watching this guy. He was saying that he had a hard time breathing, and he was running that stupid argument that O2 levels went down by wearing masks.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I'm assuming that, and then like something about your own germs or I don't know, some crazy shit.
I did watch a few minutes of that. That's what we're talking about. I had no idea. I literally thought mask was the guy's name for some stupid reason. I again, blame me being sick. I'm not on my game. But that makes a lot more sense.
Unveiling the mask of everybody.
Right?
You know, so
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So at least there's some reasoning behind this, right? Because there's been the unveiling of, of Lauren and of Steve. No, I don't know if it's one of me, is there? Of Kim.
It might be.
Might be. Well, there's a few fake accounts with me. They think, so Jen says he thinks not wearing his mask in public is his right. Well, it's not. I mean, here's the thing, and I've said this before. If you go into a restaurant, there's always usually a sign or a standing thing that says no shirt, no shoes, no service.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody gets up in arms about that because it's hygiene and it's social. And by the way, I don't want to sit there and watch somebody eat, half naked, unless he's, or she, or is easy on the eyes, but most of them not, right? I'm just not going to want to see it. I mean, if you're at a beach or something, I totally get it. But at a fine dining restaurant or something like that, there's some hygiene things to be had. But why is a mask any different? If the society can say, look, it is because the well-being to prevent harm to society, then we will mandate that you have to wear a mask. Now, if you're by yourself, sure, you don't have to wear one. I don't care. But if you're by yourself, there's no reason to wear a mask. I see people wear a mask in a car, and I'm like, why are you doing that? By themselves. Like, by themselves, they're wearing a mask in a car. Does anybody know the reason for that? Because I don't understand that.
No, I mean, you can look at Jason on stream wearing a mask. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I think a lot of these people don't understand why people wear masks. If you wear a mask, you cut down the transmission rate quite a bit. If somebody else wears a mask and you wear a mask, it's almost zero. I mean, it's especially if you are 6 feet away from each other. Right.
Yeah, and there's no standards. There's no standards for masks. I mean, like, it just says or face covering. So if you feel claustrophobic, whatever, make your own mask out of real thin, light fabric. You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, the fabric stuff isn't really going to do you much good. A face shield will, but just a really porous fabric isn't probably going to do a hell of a lot of good. Better than nothing, probably. But this guy, if I remember correctly, was saying that it lowered his O2 stats, which been demonstrably falsified so many times.
Yeah, I saw a nurse put on like 5 or 6 masks at the same time, and it still didn't. Yeah. Like 2%, maybe.
No, I don't think it registered. I don't think it made a difference. Okay, go. Dave's got to run. All right, thank you, David.
Oh yeah, I don't think anybody knows it started yet. Because people are texting me like, "Oh, it started already," and I was like, "Yeah, it started already."
I said I'm doing this early because Reds is doing his thing tonight. He's at work right now, so he can't join us because I didn't know what the debate was about, because I thought it was flat Earth, because I even put it on my Twitter. He's debating a flat Earther tonight. Hint or spoilers: the Earth is not flat, right? And then ATT said no, it's worse than that. Then somebody just now said, oh, it's not the guy's name. Mask, it is about mask, and I feel like an idiot.
Yeah, I think it's just another. I can't remember what the name of it was, but there was a video that came out not that long ago. They got like 8 million views or 9 million views before it got deplatformed. It had some scientist on it that said, you stew in your own COVID or covfefe juices or something like that. Like, and if you have
that guy wasn't even a real doctor.
Oh, it wasn't? Okay.
No, he's not even a real doctor.
What
is he? A naturalistic guy or a chiropractor or something? I don't remember, but yeah, it was Thunderfoot that put a video out on him.
Okay. And I think that has sparked the whole line of that, it'll make you keep being sick because you somehow reciprocate your germs or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
just a bunch of BS. That's
crap. Well, yeah, but the people that buy it, by the way, he's actually known as an alternative medicine conspiracy guy. That's what he's actually known for. I don't remember his name, and I don't even care to remember his name. Moon $2, Steve. Love. Oh, excuse me. Hi, Moon. Please forgive me. Like I said, I am not feeling well right now. Hopefully, this whiskey a little bit will kill the pain in my throat. But I think this infection is starting to get to me. So if it's not better tomorrow, I will make a medical appointment.
God's auditor saying something about Tony never served like he said. I don't know what that's about.
AT2 was pretty adamant that Tony had never served like he said. If he comes on, I can verify his service the way I verified yours. I don't know who Tony is. I think he means Kyle? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But I only know one Tony.
Yeah, my lymph nodes, right? And you know how on the side of your throat you have 2 lymph nodes.
Yeah, it's what the doctors always probe when you get like a sinus
they're definitely
infection.
Swollen. I can feel that they're swollen. I know when they're swollen. And since that's combined with my ear hurting and my tongue hurting a little bit on one side, it's probably a bacterial infection.
Do you have any like sinus congestion, like pressure behind your eyeballs, kind of?
Nah.
Okay. No. Well, good, because that always sucks.
No, I mean I had a tension headache the other day. It might have been sinus, but that was probably unrelated. But like I said, I'm trying some triple by antibiotic. We'll see if that.
Yeah,
helps.
I mean you probably take some low grade antibiotics, like some amoxicillin or something.
Oh, Tony's the anti-mask dude. Yeah, you know how? Yeah, you try to get amoxicillin. You got. I mean, I don't understand that. You look. If I really wanted to, I probably can go pick a direction and find somewhere to score anything. I mean, this is L.A. Near L.A. I mean, this is like Orange County, L.A., Temecula, San Diego, anywhere in those regions. If you really wanted drugs, you probably wouldn't have to work very hard to get them. Honestly, I would have no idea how to do it, but I'm sure I can find out. I got people that do know. I can just ask them, right? But
I mean,
to score some amoxicillin, forget it.
Let's say Snapchat and Twitter, and like literally, you put up you need anything, and people will service you. Welcome.
Yeah,
to
but
the
it's
internet.
weird though. I mean, but somebody, if you have a crackhead that says, "Dude, I really want to score some crack," or I want to get some LSD, man. Hell, marijuana down here, they'll drive it to your house, right? But no, you need some antibiotics because you're sick. Nope. They're not going to touch that shit. Nope. It's like, okay.
Well, you could do it the survival prepper way and just get the fish antibiotics and take those.
You know what's funny is my roommate actually said, he said you can go to Petco and there's eardrops for dogs for that kind of stuff.
I mean, it's the same medicine. I mean, the dosage is obviously going to be different, but
same. I'm not. Like I said, I'm not advocating one thing or another. That I'm not a medical professional. I'm not giving out any medical information whatsoever. I don't advocate to use pet medicines for humans. I'm just relating that that's what I was told. I don't plan to do that. It's not strep throat. Well, actually, no, I don't know. Would it be the strep? Would an ear infection would be streptococcus? I don't know.
I mean, I had strep one time, but it was a serious sore throat. I mean, like
yeah, I've had it before too. And your tonsils, yeah, you get the little nodules on your tonsils, little white nodules.
Yeah, that was like high school, I think. That was a long time ago.
Oh, I used to always get it as a kid. Always get it as a kid.
I had the bronchitis like every year, like bronchitis stuff that came back like seasonal. It sucked.
So, anybody got any advice on homemade remedies? Let me know. I've been eating garlic. I've got some white vinegar I might try. Chris is like, "Damn, Steve, what's wrong with you? Can I have your stuff?
Like
if something happens to you, can I have your stuff? See him already, like a vulture."
You can drink, like, they got herbal teas and whatnot.
Yeah, but that doesn't get rid of anything, does it? I mean, green tea has antioxidants, but it's not going to get rid of a bacteriological infection.
I don't know. You can put different stuff in it. I'm assuming it might help with inflammation and whatnot.
Chris, I'm not feeling well. Make me feel better. Tell me a joke. Oh, and speaking of which, before you do, tell me what the hell these jokes are doing on my timeline. I don't understand these things.
I haven't seen the jokes. Are they any good?
No, all these jokes are popping up everywhere. Like, oh, I don't know. They're like, I would have told you a joke, but, and there's a punchline.
Yeah, fair enough. I can tell. I do know a joke. I don't know if it's a funny joke. It's probably a sad joke. I can tell. Do you want to hear that?
Yeah, but I want to know why people are doing the. Like, I would tell you a joke about topology, but it fell flat.
That's you know what, that's like a dad joke for smart
but
kids.
there's like 1,000 of them popping up my timeline recently, and I don't know what the dad joke thing is going on now. All right, but go ahead, tell me your joke. Yeah, I've already done the warm water salt, by the way, yesterday. But go ahead.
Have you?
Yeah.
No, fair enough. Well, I was just going to say, yeah, I know a joke. Unirock. Sorry, couldn't help myself there.
Yeah, the joke's funnier than he is.
Yeah. I assumed he was a comedian.
No, I think he's full on lost his mind. I mean,
no,
the whole
yeah.
I talked to the judge, and I did exactly what I said he was going to do. I said, look, he's going to play this LARP out. If people believe him, which some people did, he'll just go with it. And if they don't believe him, he'll just say it's a joke. That's how a LARP works.
Yeah, it's basic.
It's so sad though to see him lose his shit like that. Like it's just
because he's got no information of actual facts. I mean, this is the funniest thing about Unirock. He has absolutely no facts about anything. He knows he has no facts about anything. Everything. I would say 95% of everything he's ever said is completely wrong. And except for the very beginning, he was actually correct on a few things at the very, very beginning.
Yeah, but that was like October of last year.
Right. But I mean, I have to be fair.
What I think is sad is that, it's as much as he's doing this, people are still sending him money to do it.
Yeah. They're just paying to be lied to and entertained. Which, by the way, that's his shtick.
Yeah.
Let it by. That's fine with me. But the people, at least that come over to my channel, know he's lying, right? They've already figured this out.
But to keep trying to insert that square peg in that round hole and make himself relevant over and over and over when he's obviously not is just beyond me, man. Like, move on.
All right, Faithless Peasant, Josiah, tell me, why is it? He says, I have a joke about gravity, but it's pretty heavy. Why are people doing all these jokes on Twitter lately? I don't know what it's from. All these people are just telling these weird jokes, these dad jokes. I had a joke, but the format.
It's better than all the usual crap you see on Twitter.
No, I'm just curious. Yeah. There's got to be a reason
maybe there's no one who needs to be cancelled this week. So.
Right. Oh no, Logan Paul is now being canceled for throwing his dog off a boat. That's the newest one.
Okay, that is a pretty dumb thing to do, but yeah. There's always someone who's going to get cancelled. So, Steve, what's going on? Why are you feeling sick?
That should be a new show,
up?
Cancellation of the Week. Yeah.
Maybe that could be a segment for over and under Cancellation of the Week.
I bought a neck pillow and a little eye pat thing to cover your eyes when sleeping, and I bought some melatonin, 10 milligram, which I've cut in half because 10 milligrams of melatonin is too much. 5 is all you really need. 1 or 2 is really, but they were cheap because I'm frugal. And I also bought some earplugs. And so sometimes I'll sleep with earplugs in, but they go in way too deep. And what I think happened is it maybe caused a bacteriological infection. And so I got a slight earache. My tongue is hurting on one side. My jaw is kind of bothering me, and my lymph nodes are swollen, which is all basically signs of some kind of bacteriological infection.
Yeah, I was going to say it's definitely ear related. I'm not a doctor, but it sounds as though it's definitely ear related.
Yeah, well, I'll schedule an appointment tomorrow if it's not any better, because I don't want to get meningitis. That's always my. I don't want because bacterial infection could cause meningitis or hearing loss, and that would suck.
Yeah, but bacterial versus viral though. Like I have virus. I got the cold sore that comes up, and it always makes my lymph nodes go crazy and they hurt.
Well, that's a virus. That's herpes zoster.
Yeah. So I don't know. You know what I mean? Like if the lymph nodes are signaling one or the other. You know, it could be one, could be both.
Well, it's probably because you got a bacteriological infection. You have your station tubes, and then you have drainage down there, and so it's probably that's the reason. By the way, I just noticed Chris is kind of cut off here. He's just like a headless person here. Let me see if I can fix my window capture.
Am I?
On the main
I'll
page.
fix it. No, it's not mine, not yours.
Hey, how do I get my last name off of the screen too? That'd be great.
Oh, you log into another account.
Okay.
Google.
Right. It's whatever. It's whatever.
So anyways, Chris, what's been going on with you? How's your six-pack shit? Loved being on, by the way. Thank you for the invite. Anytime you invite, I'll make it happen if I can.
Yeah, that was a hell of a lot of fun, actually. It was look, Six Pack's really good because we go in there with every good intention of discussing a serious topic, and then just end up having way too many drinks and having a bit of a laugh. It's quite literally I describe it as It's like going to the pub where you start, you're going to solve all the problems of the world while you're having a couple of drinks, and then you just end up talking garbage, and it's good fun.
Yeah, I don't think we really solved anything, right?
No. Look, we poked a little bit of fun at the weird stuff in the Bible, which that's always good. And I don't even remember I think we went down a couple of rabbit holes in the end, but I think we just had a bit of fun. Which is what the whole thing's about.
I got to explain divergence of a field to a flat earther, which was fun.
Yeah, and to his credit, he said, "You're a lot smarter. I have no idea what you're talking about." He's a flat earther who I think will convert because he's very genuine. He's someone who conspiracies for him it's almost like a religious belief. He just buys into it, and it's really interesting watching him and Jay have conversations on conspiracies, because what they'll do is they'll discuss and come to look at the same thing but come to these different conclusions. And even though a lot of the time Bobby will go, okay, I see what you're saying, but and he just keeps going back, it's just like, I believe in Jesus, sort of thing, except for the Jesus, he doesn't believe in Jesus, he's not a Christian, which is even weirder for a flat earther. He's probably more an agnostic, but he believes in something. But
one of my people,
even all over his all over his Facebook, he's so he's one of yours. So we're going to send him to you a bit more often.
Yeah, no, he seems like a cool dude. Like I said, I mean, anybody I can talk to and that has a decent conversation to be had, I have no problem with, and that's fine as long as he's honestly putting out what he believes, right? Because I hate talking to flat earthers. Oops, I just gave you the wrong link, Astronomy Live. I meant to give him the link to join here. 1 second. So I got it.
It always seems that the honest ones.
There you go. That's
the honest ones can be converted after a while. Like if you want to spend enough time talking to them and they're being honest, you can show them the way.
And I'd imagine that's what's going to happen here. But look, it's a process, and in a way, I almost hope he doesn't, because it really makes for interesting conversations that he has. But yes, we'll just we'll see what happens.
Yeah, give me about 2 seconds here. I got some people I gotta catch up with real quick. I'm
just going to drop myself out for 10 seconds.
Okay. All right, Todd, what's going on your channel then? Tell people what's going on to your channel while I figure this out.
Oh, well, I haven't really booted mine up yet. I've still been over on Little Reds at the moment, but
yeah, what's been going on over there?
A bunch of stuff between Kim and, well, not Kim, but in the Joe and Britters verse against LB and Kim. You've seen it on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of followed it a little bit, but I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't want to deal with any of those people.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good that basically people are turning on the bad people. You know what I mean? The dishonest people are getting outed. Screenshots are coming out.
Which by the way, I did call.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the same thing that happened in Puny Cock's community with all of his moderators leaving. His 10 to 13 mods somewhere in there. That finally, the wool that was covering their eyes finally got lifted, and they finally turned around and decided this is bullshit.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when people show my stuff. It's like nothing incriminating, because I mean, it's like I'm not an idiot. I know anything that's private will eventually be made public. I mean, just the way it is. Don't say anything even in public you wouldn't want private, or anything private you wouldn't want public, because eventually we'll get out. But that's why you tell the same story to everybody, right? You tell the truth, and you don't have to worry about it. But these people don't. They absolutely do not tell the truth, and that's why they're so scared when things go south, because then they have to discredit the person. Right?
Yeah, that's why he talks in circles constantly, because he has to keep reminding himself of the narrative.
Yeah.
Like he has to keep saying it over and over and over. And it doesn't make it true, it just makes it annoying.
So real quick, Astronomy Live. First one, nice picture of the ISS. Is that one of yours?
Thank you.
That's a fake.
That's mine.
That's a Hollywood studio. That's what that is.
Yeah, I keep the model in my bedroom, I just bring it out for special occasions.
So
yeah,
are you
got a hair dryer? Yeah.
Are you moderating or watching that
the
thing
image up with the
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we're actually shooting it up along with the hologram of the moon as we speak, because as you know, Australia is not real, and we're all part of the conspiracy.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a hair dryer for the heat effect in front of the camera.
Oh yeah, it's got heat effect.
How did you know?
Oh yeah, he went all out for that CGI, didn't he?
Spare no expense.
Are you watching that discussion tonight on Red's channel? Because it's kind of the pre-libation show. Because anything Reds does for a debate, I've got to have a little alcohol.
Yeah, I'm planning to tune in and have it on while I do some work in the background.
I'll probably watch it.
I heard it was 9:30. It was what time is?
Yeah, it's 9:30 Eastern. Clifford says, Clifford Reynolds says you can't overdose on melatonin, Steve. Yeah, I know that. Melatonin's a hormone. You're not going to overdose on it, but you just don't need 10 milligrams. 1 to 2 milligrams will have the same effect. 5 especially. You don't. I mean, I got the 10s because they were really cheap, and then I just cut them in half with a pill slicer.
That stuff never works on me.
Oh, it works for me. Yeah, melatonin helps me sleep. I've also taken diphenhydramine, but that makes me groggy.
Isn't that the stuff you take for boat sickness?
No,
motion sickness?
no, that's a patch you put in the back of your head. That's a Dramamine.
What about valerian extract? Have you tried
Valerian
that?
root, valerian root, I've heard mixed things about. I'm not a naturopath, I believe that certain natural things are fine. Don't get me wrong with that. And I think echinacea and valerian root might have some kind of slight, medicinal purposes, but it doesn't really do anything for me. I do notice the Benadryl does, so. Yeah,
Benadryl.
What I find is it won't. Valerian doesn't help you get to sleep, but what it actually does is I guess you have a deeper sleep. So I always, if I have it, I'll generally wake up feeling pretty refreshed, whether it's a couple of hours sleep or a full night.
Yeah,
that's good.
Which is never a full night for me, but normally a couple of hours.
Yeah, and Moon says, Joe made my life a living hell. There finally comes the truth comes out. Yeah, and I know that. And by the way, here's the thing, and I don't want to get into too much of the drama stuff, but it is Rum and Coke night, so we do talk about certain things. But I will say this on record. Joe is one of those dishonest people on the planet. Straight up, clearly a person who has no ethical considerations in her life whatsoever. However, everything that she's been putting out the last week, I believe her. So the people that basically trying to discredit her, because I knew they would, that's understandable. She is somebody not to be taken seriously. She is somebody who lies. But I know, I shouldn't say I know. I believe very strongly. I'm not going to say I know because that's a ballgame. But I do believe very strongly that what she's been saying in the last couple days is the truth. And one of the things is there have been active people trying to cancel culture her and shut her down now that she's telling the truth, right? Including legal actions, maybe. And that, to me, is a sign of people that do not want the facts out there, right?
It's funny how that happens.
So I do believe that Joe was used. I do believe Joe does do dirty work on behalf of other people. And nobody's hands are clean. But that doesn't, by the way, that doesn't just, give her a pass. That doesn't give her a clean slate. That doesn't exonerate her in any way. She's still trash. She's still one of the worst people I've ever ran across in my life. Matter of fact, I did the honorable thing with Joe. When I first discovered her channel, I was like, okay, I'll watch this for a while. She made me a moderator. Okay, whatever. As soon as I realized she was not an honest person, I did the most honorable thing in the world. I said, please take my wrench. I will not be returning.
Yeah, I remember that.
I did this in a live chat. Because I have honor.
I think that's about the same time I dipped out.
Yeah. Joe, sipping tea with Joe. I think she goes by something cards now. I don't know. I don't watch
Joe's Angel Cards. Yeah,
Joe's Angel Cards. And she's a tarot card reader. I mean, again, she got pissed off because I guess that I called her not a critical thinker because she's an idiot, and she doesn't have a critical think on anything. But I mean, it makes it even worse that I'm sorry if you look, to each his own. If you want to believe in tarot cards, you want to believe in astrology. I would love to have a conversation with you. I don't think somebody who believes in astrology or tarot cards is much of a critical thinker personally, but I'm willing to have a conversation with them and find out why that they do. Chris is probably the same way.
Did you see when someone asked? Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I just for those who just to give everyone a heads up, if it ever seems like we're talking over each other, there's just the slightest, it's a couple of seconds delay.
It's always the
between,
Australians.
Australia and it's because as the floating island moves, wherever it depends where we're beaming the moon up to. So look, what I'd say is astrology tarot cards. I think they probably get a bit of a harder. A bit of a hard rap sometimes because when to look at it realistically, it's no different to any other religious belief. And that's the thing. I think that we've been so indoctrinated to think, okay, well, it's not abnormal to, look at things like Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, all the mainstream religions and say, okay, well, they're the normal ones. The rest are crazy. They're all the same, and that's the thing. It's look, astrology realistically, the stars guiding us, and obviously we can disprove. There's no two ways about that. And when you look at horoscopes, they're so generic. It's Gemini. You will find something new today, and you will think a thought. Things like that. So
you'll wake up to read your horoscope today. Wow, they nailed it.
Yeah. And ironically, in my pre-Christian days, I used to do a little bit of like Reiki and psychic sort of readings and things like that.
You were
and
a
I can tell you,
healer?
Yeah, it's
okay. Not judging.
Yeah.
I lived in an ashram for a while.
Was. That's
now,
the.
So I got to ask you. First of all, let me move the text over here so I can see Mikey's lovely face here because it's blocking him.
Just put me down there.
No, I put it on Astronomy Live. I can't really arrange you guys. That's all done automatically. But Astronomy Live only has an ISS, so it doesn't matter. So what made you think Enrique worked, though? I mean, what was it that you convinced yourself? And by the way, all cards on the table. I've had some similar stuff that I convinced myself it worked, kind of things. It wasn't Reiki, but whatever.
Look, it's a placebo. Look, I fell into it the same way most 18, 19-year-old guys fall into it. There was a girl, and
or another guy. We don't judge here. It's fine.
No. Look, it's whatever. In this case, it was definitely a girl.
Okay. And see how proud he was of that, though. He's like, oh yeah, definitely, she was a girl. Yeah.
I bet she was nice.
She was. Yeah, I've got to say, she was certainly one of my better ex-girlfriends. So I'll give her that. Oh, that's all right. I'm used to it. So yeah. Anyway, what had happened was I learned how to do the Reiki. She was right into all that kind of stuff, and I did it on someone, and apparently their headache went. And okay, I'm thinking, oh wow, there's something to it. And realistically, it's a placebo. It's an absolute placebo. You do feel a warmth. If you put your hands near anyone and hold it there, you're going to feel a warmth because the body emanates heat. But 18-year-old me was just like, hey, this is cool. And the girl really thinks I'm doing good stuff and she likes me.
I haven't had my hand next to a warm body in a very long time, so I'm not familiar with that feeling. It's been several months, to say the least.
But no, and yeah, with the whole psychic reading thing, I mean, that's just intuition. If you've got intuition, and a lot of it's kind of guesswork, and I mean, I see the way that like someone like a John Edwards, John Edwards he's
crap.
Scammer.
I'm sorry, he's crap at it. Yeah. I think John Edwards is crap at it.
Yeah, but he makes millions of dollars.
Oh yeah, no, if that's your measure of success, sure.
Yeah.
So does Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like Taylor Swift.
Don't you be saying nasty things about Taylor Swift.
There's nothing to be bad to say about Taylor Swift in this hangout ever.
Come at me, bro.
I love Taylor Swift. And by the way, haters, use that against me.
I knew you were trouble when you walked in.
I would love my haters to say,
"How dare you,
Steve? Steve loves Taylor Swift."
My face.
Yeah, Kawasa 10,001 blood type psychology. He says 10,001 blood types psychology is huge in Asia. Probably even more widespread than astrology or tarot cards, especially in Japan. Blood type psychology? Oh, basically, if you have A negative or O positive, it's basically using that instead of the stars. Gotcha. Yeah, John Edwards is a terrible cold reader. Now, I used to do cold and warm reads. I used to do what's called cryomancy, which is the study of palm reading, right? Which I didn't. Yeah. I didn't ever believe it. Maybe when I was like 11 or 12, I was like, maybe check into it. But then I realized, I think it's BS. But I could basically, convince people that it's true. But I did always tell them it was BS, and then use it at a bar and stuff like that. But yeah, it's one of those things where you're just reading things, intuition, cold reading, hot reading. And
the irony is, for me, when I converted not long after to Christianity, and sort of got into leadership there, it was whenever you were getting a word from God, it was the same sort of thing. And I did it with I was genuine when I did it, but a lot of it's just intuition, but when I look back at it, the same I guess methods or techniques I was using for psychic readings and things along those lines, and even Reiki, it's because we used to place hands on to pray for people to be healed.
Oh yeah,
the headache, come here. It's the same sort of thing. It's very much placebo. So, I can look back at it now, and that's why I sort of say, realistically, I think that, astrology, things like that, they do get a bit of a hard rap as sort of, those crazy religions. But realistically, it's it's Christianity without Jesus. It's the same sort of thing. It's just instead of praying and laying hands on, we're just going to lay hands slightly above without touching. Doing the psychic reading. It's the same as, I've got a word from you for God. Jesus wants you to do this. I'm sort of feeling, the Lord's telling me that you've got some issues in your life at the moment. There's something you need to talk about. Things like that. It's
Well, John,
exactly.
You got a family member.
Do you have
That's
somebody in your
addicted to
family?
drugs right now. You got a family member on drugs, don't you? Well, so does everybody.
Chris, Chris, do you have a family member that has the name begins with a J or an M?
Oh my goodness!
I'm getting the sensation
Mum
that
starts with an M.
See,
How did you know?
it's the spirits told me this. Yes, the spirits told me this.
I'm getting something from the left side of the audience. Someone's parents have a first and a last name.
So I'm getting the fact that, Mikey, your parents had sex at one time.
Let me get this right. Your parents are not virgins. Is that correct? Your parents are not virgins. Is that correct? I knew it.
If you look at it was von Prague. Remember von Prague, James von Prague?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me tell you a little background,
No.
Chris. You don't even know about this, I don't think. Only my longtime listeners would even remember this. This goes back a very, very long time. I used to do some of this debunking with. There's a friend of mine. His name was. Oh my God, great friend. It's been so long. What was his name? He was a magician, and he's been on Fox News, and he would do debunking of like Sylvia Brown and von Prague and everything. But anyways, I would be around his channel quite a bit.
The jelly juice guy?
Well, no, what was his name? Damn it.
I don't know, but it makes me think of the Long Island Medium chick.
It was, well, yeah, no, that was his biggest thing. Long Island Medium is one of the things that we talked about the most, right? I don't remember.
I saw her live at the DPAC.
One of my old-time listeners might remember his name because it's been that long ago. But anyways, I was involved in that for quite some time. Like explaining how Long Island Medium does this and how the shows does this and hot and cold reading. And so I am quite familiar with that procedures. But von Prague, if you looked, and I did a kind of a small analysis of the things he would say the most often, which were basically names like Mary, Joseph, and what was the other one he used? Started with a C. It wasn't Carol. It was no. It was one of the. It was a little more off one, right? What you wouldn't expect, like Claudia or
Catalonia.
I can't remember. It's been so long. But it was because if you go back to the Social Security Administration for the most common names for the 20s and 30s, that's every name he said were the most common names for the 20s and 30s from the Social Security Administration. Matter of fact, I could probably look it up right now. Like, let me do that while Steve's in here. Steve, what you got for us?
Just popped in. What's going on?
We're talking about hot reading and cold reading.
Reading, check it and see.
Not really too familiar with that. What essentially is the gist, though?
Chris?
Well, I'm feeling that you've got someone in your life who possibly a John or a Michael, or maybe even that could be both of their names. Have you got someone in your life with that name?
Dorothy, that was it, by the way. Dorothy was the name he used a lot.
One, but haven't really chilled out with him much lately.
Okay, and I'm feeling that could be something that's possibly, a concern. Maybe that's something. I'm feeling that the spirits are telling me that maybe you need to reconnect with that person. That's basically cold reading. It's just where you throw out the names. Basically, fake psychic bullshit.
Yeah. So you guys can't see this in the Hangout, but if you look at the video on the outside, I'll transition over. This is the Social Security's top names in the 1920s. If you look at the names for the women, Mary, Dorothy, and Margaret, and Mary Margaret, I swear to you, don't take my word for this. Go watch an old James von Prague video where he's doing cold reading. The most always names he used are Mary, Dorothy, and Margaret, or some combination. He's used other words. He's used Joseph's. He's used James. He's used John and Robert, which of course are the top names for the men. This is from the 1920s. So the audience he's talking to, which was back in the 80s, more likely going to have a parent named Robert, John, James, William, Charles, George, Joseph, Richard, Mary, Dorothy, Helen, Betty, Margaret, Ruth, Virginia, Doris. And again, this is why people will say, well, how do you hit on so many names that were named Dorothy? That's kind of odd. Or Mary Margaret. That's kind of odd. Because they were the
This
top
is-
names of the 20s. And I looked into this. I did this myself. I didn't find this anywhere. And you guys can go check it out yourself. I mean, let me know what you guys think about that. But that's how he did it.
Yeah, and then intuition pops in. Like, if it's a younger person sort of there, you assume that they're at this psychic reading wanting to connect with a parent. If it's an older person on their own, you assume that it's a partner that they've lost.
Spouse.
Yes.
If it's an older couple, then you might sort of say, it's a younger person. So it's okay. I'm feeling that this was an unexpected death or a tragic. There was a tragedy. It was it wasn't something that was expected. Is that correct?
Yeah,
And
who
then
was it
it's basically asking questions and probing.
Sylvia Brown.
There's a lot of dishonesty in the way they do it.
Sylvia Brown did that a lot, and she was the worst at it because she got a lot of shit wrong. She's like, oh, I see your child, but he's, your child is dead. I see him next to water, which everywhere's next to water. And then the child will be found alive. I'm like, really? She died a few years back, and I got to tell you, I didn't care.
Damn it.
Is this mentalist type bullshit?
Yeah, no, I
basically.
don't think it's... No, mentalists actually do a show. Mentalists are actually harmless. Mentalists tell you it's a trick. These are actually people that...
No, I think you mean the show The Mentalist, though. So I think that was the premise. He used to do the fake psychic stuff.
Well, not the show per se, but it's like similar tactics, similar approaches I've seen for her mentalists used before. Misguidance, misdirection, just
Yeah, well,
But
that's kind of what they do. I mean, but with a cold and hot read. Okay, I'll give you an example. Somebody had asked me a long time ago. They're like, okay, wait a minute. There was an instance of somebody that they go to these events, right? And yes, they fill out 3x5 cards. People know this, and the producers get information off that. That's already a given. But they were telling a story of the people where the performer was telling them things in their house and getting it right. Now they were like, how could this person have any information about the urn that's on my mantle of my dead grandfather or something like that? It's too specific. How did they do this? Well, I can tell you how. I know how they did it. The people that got the tickets, right? They would actually have people come to their door about a month or two prior, pretending to sell stuff, or just sell. We're here to talk about Jesus, or we're here to convert you to this, or we're here to sell you aluminum siding, whatever. And just to get in the house or even look in the house. And those were working for the producers. That's how they did it. So there's always an explanation for this stuff.
Thanks a lot, David Blaine. Just ruined the secret.
Well, I like Blaine. Blaine's good, but I mean,
He is good.
that's what I'm saying. All these con artists, they are tricks. Every one of them is a trick. So, yeah. Well, Sylvia Brown was the worst. I think she was just evil incarnate. If evil has an ontology, she was evil. Telling a family that their kid is dead just for And by the way, I will go on a limb and say, look, she may have actually even believed her own bullshit. She may have what's been called a shut-eye. And a shut-eye is somebody who actually believes their own abilities. But
she's what a Marlboro Light
Jeff,
100 would look like if it was a person.
if what was a person?
If Marlboro Light 100s were a person, it was
she
Sylvia Brown.
did not look good. I'm so glad I quit smoking, by the way.
Either that, she was a sociopath.
Or Virginia Slim 120.
Yeah, Virginia Slim 120.
Let me ask you guys: do you think it diminishes from? Okay, if she didn't, what makes it even worse? If she believed her own bullshit, right? And this, you can apply this to many different things. People even like Unirock can probably apply this too. If somebody actually believes their own con, right, or abilities called a shut-eye, does that diminish ethically anything, or does it make it worse that they've actually self-deluded themselves, or does it make it worse if they actually know they're lying? Which one's worse ethically? I think. What do you guys
That
say?
they know they're lying.
If they know, I mean, look, I've got a friend of mine, and she's a psychic medium, like to the point where she'll even go and offer assistance to police in cases, and
she believes it. She really believes it.
Absolutely, genuinely believes it. And I sat down and had a conversation with her, about it, and she absolutely genuinely believes that what she's getting, I guess, the voices in her head or her intuition is actual communication from spirits. And I think that's fine if people have essentially it's a genuine religious belief for her. What I don't like is where they know that they're pulling a scam, and and look, even like when I was doing it, I genuinely believed that I was getting something, and like my pre-Christian days, and then even in Christianity, I believe that I'd be getting a word for someone from Jesus wants you to know that look, he's with you, and the pain and suffering and things like that. That was genuine, and I think we've got to be careful. It's very easy to discount things as non-believers and sort of put religious people into the they're just stupid because how could you believe that? But the reality is that's the way we're wired as humans. I mean, we've evolved to believe stories. We've evolved to believe things that are made up. It's not something that the human or humanity can just switch off.
No, I believe you. No, I agree with you. So let me modify that. I probably should have worded it a little bit differently because I was kind of a clear answer. I should have said, if somebody starts off knowing it is bullshit, but plays the con so well that convinces themselves, which is really what a shut-eye actually more is. Do you think that lessens their responsibility of being an unethical person? Because clearly they're a shitty person if they're doing this to see people, but then they've actually convinced themselves that they're legit. Now, I don't think that was the case with your friend, obviously, but I'm just saying somebody who actually has done this, that convinces themselves that they have some kind of ability that they don't have. Do you think that we should look at them any different than we would somebody who just knows they're lying? Even if they can convince themselves if they start off lying?
I think you've got to judge people on where they are at the time. I guess if they've convinced themselves that it's true, well, obviously they've deluded themselves at the same time. So, yeah, I think if people know that they're genuinely being false in what they're doing, yeah, different story. But where they're convinced, even if it doesn't matter where they've started from. I don't think. I think it's where they're at that time.
All right. No, I'm not going to push back on that. I kind of agree. But I do fully stand by that. No police force should ever have a psychic. It makes it much worse. It makes it much more difficult. And matter of fact, most places now have an actual policy. They do not use psychics.
And the problem is when they get something right or they're close to right. And with my friend in particular, and I won't get into the case, but it was a reasonably big case where there was a missing body in Australia, and she sort of got involved and sort of said it's within this area, and she was pretty close to where it was actually. But then all of a sudden what happens is that emboldens her, and all of a sudden she's on this one and on that one, and you get some people in the police who buy into it.
Yeah, you remember the hits, you forget the misses.
Belief. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So all of a sudden what's happening is they're calling her for more things, and it's that snowball effect.
But that's okay. But and we'll get to Jeff here in a second because I know he wants to add something. But here's the thing on that. Look, let's say you have 100 psychics. Okay, let's do a little basic probability here. You've got 100 psychics, maybe 1,000. We'll make it a larger sample size. By the way, you only need about 2,400 for a really good sample size of pretty much anything. So let's say you have a few thousand psychics out there, right? Now, chances are, using 3 standard deviations, there's going to be a handful of psychics that are going to get something right occasionally, just by pure accident.
Of course.
Pure accident.
Of course.
Now, look what happens. Oh, they're going to be emboldened. They're going to think they actually have powers. The people going, oh, look, they got it right. We're going to go with them. Now, out of those, there might be some psychics that get 2 things right.
Yeah.
Now you're on Time Magazine.
Is,
it's like, wait. And yet they still have a complete bullshit.
Yeah, and like conversations I had with Mon, where I sort of said to her, look, okay, it's, I'm trying to explain how it's, it's more intuition than anything. And she'll just say, well, then how did I get this right? How did I get this right? And I'm just saying, well, it was luck. Purely luck. But that's
it's only
I guess,
luck
a weak
to us
argument.
that it's not the person it happened to, right? I mean,
exactly.
if I win the lottery, right, I'd be like, oh, it wasn't luck. I picked the 6 numbers, and I knew it was going to happen, and okay. Jeff, what do you got to add?
Psychics can never do that.
Yeah, that's one. That's a really good indication that people are not psychic. Yeah, I do think that's actually a good argument. But Jeff?
Yeah, sorry, just unmute myself.
Hey, buddy.
Because I mean, I think I've mentioned before. One time I was sort of into like neo-paganism and whatever, and so there was a lot of people in that sort of scene buy into things like psychic ability. But I do remember one time, right, where I was convinced to go to I was convinced by the girl I was with at the time to go to this spirit.
Always a girl.
It's a girl again. It's a girl.
Always the girl.
Always the girl. Always the girl. Always the girl.
We're helpless against them.
She convinced
They have
me
the
to
real
go
power.
to she convinced me to go to a spiritualist church one time, and I heard you guys talk about the cold reading. And this guy kind of picked on me, and he did probably the worst cold reading act ever, and I clocked him straight away for what he was doing. But he got one. I mean, he got one thing right about me, and that was that he said I'm getting the sense that you have had something to do with you ride motorcycles, or you used to ride. Hold on, let me put the camera on. You guys have seen me. You know what I look like. Long hair, had a great big beard at the time, leather jacket.
I like your
I think
avatar.
it
It's
was
got that
it was
Alice
a
Cooper type
pretty damn good guess, I'd have said. But
I went to go mute Steven because he was vaping,
the reaction
and
to it, I thought was very
I left the
weird.
Hangout. I don't know why.
He got that right, and then every other thing he just got wrong and wrong and wrong. And I wasn't letting him lead me down the sort of path or whatever. But the weird thing is I got more sort of hostility from this congregation in this spiritualist church than this medium did, who is like, hold on, shouldn't you be angry at him because he's not what he says he is? But no, they're angry at me for showing him up.
Yeah. It's weird, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
because
it's
You're
like
always one guy.
it's like
You're
I
always
used to
one
get
guy trying to be cool. Why you gotta be cool,
Yeah, I
Jeff?
used to get so much hate when I'd be talking about psychics, and this again was this was pre-Hangout day.
I can't turn it off. I don't know what you want me to do.
And that's why you're cool, because you're trying not to be cool. That's what makes you cool.
I tell you, the people that believe this stuff, they will go after you viciously.
Oh, look at this! Look at this! The check's in the mail. The check's in the mail.
Check your PayPal.
Sorry about that. I didn't realize I muted. I went. Steve was vaping or something, so I had to go mute him, and all of a sudden it kicked me out. I don't know why, but it's funny because before I had Hangouts on YouTube, and I would just leave comments on videos, and just to tote myself, I would get like 500 responses, and that would reach the limit. Then we have to start a new one. But the most comments I've ever gotten were on videos, mostly with people that were supporting these psychics. I mean, I literally have had videos, comments that I'd be talking about this stuff, and the people that believe this stuff, they are vicious.
What?
If you just show why they're wrong, they're vicious.
Well, I think it makes a lot of sense. And if you start with the question of, sorry, hang on one second.
Like, was that a phone call?
Sorry, that was my baking timer going off. But if you start with the question of what is motivating the belief to begin with? Are people believing it because they have rationalized that this is something that they think is true, or is there a strong emotional component? Are they believing it because they like how it makes them feel? It makes the universe seem more ordered and something that they can grapple with, and know about something about their future or about what they're supposed to do. And so when you challenge that, even if you come at it from a rational perspective and provide evidence, you are evoking an emotional response. Mm-hmm. And that's because that's what's really the foundation of their belief.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of their beliefs are emotionally driven because, again, they want to believe that their deceased person is still contacting them, right? There's a want there, right? And I don't fault them for that. I get that.
Absolutely. And it's the hard thing because people are emotionally vulnerable a lot of the time when they go and see mediums, when they go and see these people, because it's even within mainstream religions, it's that wanting to see your loved ones and knowing that you'll be together again and clinging on to that hope. It's hard for people to let go of that because there's more to it than just
I'm not quite sure
thought.
how that works. By the way, I actually Let me ask you this, because you guys remember that I was Mormon when I was 17, and one of the questions I never really got answered, right? And I still have never gotten answered to this day, is that let's say that I'm sealed with Chris. I'm married to Chris. We're a happy couple. We're going to heaven together, unless you're Mormon, which don't allow gay marriage for whatever reason. But let's say that they lighten things up, and Chris and I get married, and we go to heaven, and we're living together as a couple. Well, wait a minute. Now you're supposed to be with all your family members too. So what about my parents who were sealed, and your parents that were sealed? And wait a minute, I got my kid. Is she going to be the same age as me? How is all this supposed to work together? It's like one big commune. Nobody has an answer to this. No religious person in the world has ever answered that question properly, at least in a way that makes any sense.
Well, I guess it's like you can, because doesn't the Mormon belief end up with you ruling or becoming a god of your own planet?
There is some reason. Yeah. See, here's the thing on that. There wasn't really ever fully scripture. There wasn't a book called Mormon Doctrine by a guy named McConkie. It was never ratified as scripture, but it's been abstained so much that it's probably one of those widely held positions by Mormons that they don't talk about. But it was never scripture.
I thought Kolob was or Kobol or whatever.
Kobol was mentioned in the Book of Abraham. Yeah, the Book of Abraham. But the Kolob was the star closest to the planet where which gods reside. Right.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I remember a little bit my stuff. I remember. But
it's all coming from the guy who read the golden tablets from the hat, right?
That was Joe Smith, yeah. But again,
I love the Book of Abraham because the Book of Abraham is a proven fake.
Yeah, the Book of Abraham comes from the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Yeah.
And I believe that wholeheartedly. But the point is that I don't like false information about any religion, right? And so when people say, well, Mormons have in doctrine that they can rule their own planet, there is nowhere in doctrine. Like I said, it comes from the Book of Abraham, which is Kolob, and it certainly can be inferred. But saying something is inferential and saying it's doctrine and a religion are quite different things, right? And then I get labeled a Mormon apologist for pointing that out. I don't know why.
With religion, though, there's a lot of things that are inferred. I mean, you have a look at half of the claims that Christians make, like the rapture. There's nowhere in the Bible that actually talks about the rapture, but it's inferred. Things along those lines. So
I don't think it's even inferred. I don't know where the whole rapture thing comes from. I think that's just one big made-up thing from the get-go in modern days. I don't see any biblical thing from the rapture.
It's been popularized. Yeah, there is, but
I don't see it.
I've got to remember. I think
Florida present day. There you go.
Bear in mind, I used to be like a Norse pagan at one time. I still think Valhalla's the best one.
I mean, are there a lot of people that still think that they're going to wake up one day and like half the population is going to be translated and gone?
That's what they believe, yeah. But
I mean,
know
it's still
people
popular
like
because that used to be popular in my day. That the Christians were like, you need to convert now because tomorrow we may not be here.
Oh, the Left Behind movie?
Yeah, kind of like Left Behind series.
Oh God, they were terrible.
Yeah,
they were so bad.
You mean the documentary?
No, I did. I'll get Landon here in a second because I know he's dying to jump in on this topic. I did remember reading a book, and I don't remember his Neil Gaiman. It could have been Gaiman, but I remember reading a series, and it was about two angels that would be walking along the town, and they'd be talking about religious stuff. And I don't remember if it was Left Behind or not. It was actually a good book. It was actually really good. I do remember that I enjoyed reading it. But I don't remember if that was Neil Gaiman. But do you guys remember some story that was written about?
No, it does sound like it.
It sounds like Gaiman would write, right?
Kind of thing.
Hang on, it's not the one they just had that came out on Amazon with what's his name, David Tennant.
No, that was oh my God, no, that was what was the name of that show? That was brilliant.
Good Omens.
Yeah. Good Omens.
Good Omens.
Yeah. Let me put that out real quick before I get Landon here. If you guys want my recommendation of the week, Good Omens. One of the best. It's a little corny. It's a little over the top, but it's supposed to be. It's campy. But David Tennant is absolutely brilliant in it.
Yeah.
Good Omens.
I mean, I'm a bit.
He's good in
trying to think of this.
So good. Anyways, Landon, welcome.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on your time zone and latitude. And I hope folks are doing well today.
We're doing well. I mean, I'm not feeling well. The book what I read wasn't Good Omens, though. I don't think that was the name of the book. But the show was good. I loved the show. Well, I don't know. Maybe it was. Maybe it was I don't know now.
Did they do anything past the second season yet?
No, they got
just left
canceled.
it?
It got canceled.
Oh.
It was a one and done.
So,
Yeah.
so what are people drinking?
I had lemonade and whiskey, but I need to get some more.
I actually
I'm drinking ginger
have
ale.
someone had a mistaken delivery of DoorDash to me, and I tried to get it back, but they wouldn't want it back because apparently of landed Covidia. So I have this bottle of Coke, and I have some rum, so I can actually do real rum
Good
and Coke.
grief. Landon is the only goddamn person on the planet that actually gets alcohol misdelivered to him. I mean, seriously, this doesn't happen to us normal folk.
Landon, what is your secret?
He's not normal folk.
I did
Landon's in
try.
a different world than us. He's not one of us. He's in a different plane of existence.
I did try to give it back, but they said, "Well, we can't take it back." So I got it was delivered as I have Coca-Cola and I have a Bacardi 8-year.
Well, I'm out of mixer, but I don't know. Maybe
Grand Reserve rum.
I can go make a coffee and brandy or something, but I just want to get my throat going better.
I argued with them saying, "Hey, I haven't touched the package. It's out there on my doorstep. I can see it is. I can see your phone number on it. Oh no, we can't possibly take it back. So it's yours."
Not worth it.
Yep,
You
liability.
could have said, "Well, I drank it first." I got a $10 PayPal. Thank you from Tom. Tom.
Well, thank you.
He says my small contribution to Steve is moving fund. Aw. Yeah, like I said, I don't. My landlord has said that he is planning to sell the house by he wants to do it by end of summer, end of the year, but I don't know. He changes his mind on that every so often, but it sounds like this time he has kind of made up his mind to do so. But we'll see.
Are you thinking of staying in the same area? Or,
yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not. Yeah, my mom's here, my daughter's here. I'm not going anywhere. I mean, I thought about going out of state only because the fact is, I really hate California. No offense to Californians, I hate it here. I just don't. So many other states I'd rather live in, like Arizona, New Mexico.
Carolina's pretty good.
Yeah, and so I considered it, and my daughter's all fine with it too. She's like, "Hey, Dad, if you want to move, I'll come down to visit for summers or whatever." But because she's older now, she'll be fit. She just turned 15. But it's still, I don't want that. I don't want that. I want to be close to my daughter. So even
if
really hate
you're looking
living
for a
in
good state
California.
to move to, if you're looking for a good state to move to, I'd highly recommend New South Wales.
I don't know. As I say, some of the people. I mean,
you said Wales, right?
You got neighbors like in Victoria, where that seems to be the hotbed of Covidia down under. But of course,
it certainly is. But we've got a big river in between.
Understand that you're folks. We're talking about several orders of magnitude less than the U.S. I mean, the anyone's town would be lucky to have as few number of people that Australia has there. Although you're not quite at New Zealand because of some politicians making some oopsies. But anyway.
Oh yeah. No, I think we had 400 new cases in Victoria. So what happened in Victoria was there was a breakout from quarantine. A couple of the anyone who comes back into Australia, it's 14 days quarantine. And what had happened in Victoria, rather than having the police look after quarantine, they got a private security firm in. A few of the security guards got a little bit randy, shall we say, with a few of the quarantined returnees, and then went out and joined a big protest that happened to be on, and boom.
So real quick, a super chat from Desire, $5. Thank you, Desire. He says,
Thanks,
"So
Desire.
I finished Voyage of the Beagle. It turns out it was about Snoopy at all." That is correct. That was that book. I have not read that book, but I know what it's about with Charles Darwin. Yeah, not about that.
I wanted to know, Ozzy, that Clive Palmer had bought all these meds, that Trump was pushing, with the idea of selling them inside there, and I have a T-shirt that says Clive Palmer is a fatty McFuckface, in my opinion.
Yes.
Wait, was that the guy that bought that one drug and then, like, for insulin or something like that, and then overpriced it by 10,000 times or whatever it was? Was that guy? No, who was it?
No.
Okay, who was the guy that did that?
He was offering to give it for free. So Clive Palmer, he's I wouldn't say he's like our Trump. I know Clive. I've met him many times. he's interesting. Clive's a showman. He got himself into. He accidentally got himself elected into Parliament. So he just had one seat, and he spent the whole time basically sleeping or not showing up because he was a billionaire with better things to do. Clive's actually just been convicted of a little bit of fraud, actually, but
little bit.
Yeah, he spent more money advertising his party at the last election than both of the major parties combined, and probably helped, I guess, my side win the election.
Why did all these billionaires
seats.
look? If you got $1 billion, why the hell would you do anything to make it do anything whatsoever to do anything illegal? It just seems silly.
Yeah, look, I think it's a little bit of a beat up. I think he's made a few enemies politically, so I think they go after him. But with Clive, the whole reason he was, well, in my opinion, the whole reason he was doing it was just to basically get a little bit of. He does a lot of business in China, and having a bit of political clout, I think, would have helped him a bit. He's a massive iron ore miner from the
Massive in the
Super chat real quick.
Yeah.
Super chat Macabre $5. Oh my God, it's Landon. Fun fact: Landon is so awesome. He can enter any the BIOS of any computer and just by staring at it.
Yes,
that's power.
Yes. Well, but as I say, you were saying Clive. On the other hand, Clive, when he was running for his Australia party, was running against people because they knew how to speak. Like there was this MP who he said must be a Chinese spy because he can speak Mandarin, right? That's literally.
He said a lot of stuff that he knew would get headlines. It's Clive in real life and Clive the personality on TV, two very different people. And I was considering at one point writing my thesis on the rise and fall of the Palmer United Party. So, but I know a lot of people connected with it. Yeah. But I'm going down a different path instead. But yeah, Clive's an interesting character. A lot of it's for show.
Sure.
I guess I'd say similar to Trump. He's probably looked at the same way as Trump, except he's probably seen as more a bit of a joke. I think he was a bit of a protest joke. So we've got the two-party system in Australia, and essentially the protest vote often went to the Greens, which they are a far-left sort of party. And I think there was people who didn't want to vote for the Greens, didn't want to vote for either of the major parties, that the far-right party, we've got one nation, isn't everyone's cup of tea, to put it nicely.
Pauline is an interesting lady.
She is. She's a very interesting lady. And look, essentially, Clive Palmer's policies were everything that the Liberal Party, all of their policies, plus 5 of their own unique policies, which some of them were okay. A lot of them were probably to his benefit, but it was things to do with, how to process people when they come in. So essentially, it was the Liberal Party, but just done differently.
Yeah.
More super chats. Let me get out of the way real quick. Tom actually did ask, did you always live in California? No. I've lived in Florida. I've lived in Connecticut. I've lived in Washington. I've lived in Kansas. I should say I lived in Kansas. I stayed there summer. Does that count? I lived in Utah. I've been around. Kawasa 5001. Landon is so sexy that he can unhook the I/O cables of your PC just by smiling at it. This is getting dirty. Macabre, $5. I voted for Palmer when I found out he typically sleeps in Parliament. My motivation: he can f things up even. So how can he f things up even more if he's sleeping? That's actually reasonable.
That's actually
reasonable. That's a fair point, man.
Yeah,
it's a fair.
No, he can do it.
Chris, I understand. My involvement as an astronomer. I'm very actively involved in the Square Kilometre Array, which is a large radio telescope array that's going into the Pilbara region in the middle of nowhere in Australia, which it has wonderful collections of, and we are building what was going to be this massive data network to pull data off of the telescope arrays. They're currently planning to have 680,000 40 gigabit optical links from the telescopes coming into a data center in Perth. But Australia has something called the NBN, and they have these rules saying that Australian government essentially is supposed to own the fiber except for certain regions. If you get permission. Right?
Yeah.
We had originally planned on saying, hey, we're putting this massive network. This data network will dwarf the bandwidth of the internet. Putting this into Australia and saying, hey, why don't we just offer people to hook up stuff? And they said, no, you can't do it. Telstra, no, NBN, da. And so, but we ran into a lady that still sort of called Spikes, Pauline Hanson, who was one of the key votes in the Senate that basically says, can we do it or can't we? And we had to deal with her in an amicable way, which is for Pauline Hanson is a interesting challenge.
See, Pauline's funny. Pauline is a populist. She knows her audience very well. The general opinion of her is she's this dopey, sort of says dumb things and not very bright, but she's a highly intelligent woman.
Absolutely.
Highly intelligent woman. And look, I mean, she's been very successful. And I mean, to the point where it's at one point, like you said, she was one of the key votes. It's essentially her and a few others held the balance of power in the Senate. So neither major party could get anything through without negotiating with this crossbench. It was a really interesting sort of setup we had.
I don't know.
Anyway,
We need two more people to come in here so we can have like an AD&D alignment grid. And you're right in the center, so you're true neutral.
I just sent you a.
I don't know who that person is. I was going to mention that. Am I supposed? Should I show that? Wait.
Actually,
should I show
this
the
photo
picture?
of myself and.
Do you want me to show what you sent me the picture?
Oh yeah. I was going to say you can check that out.
He's showing me a personal picture of his that he has sent me. Shield your eyes. Make sure no children are in the room, please.
It's shocking. But Landon will appreciate it.
All right, let me call it up here. So 1 sec. I gotta. All right, so let me move this over here, and I move this over here.
But I say so again, but I really enjoy Australia. It's a great place to do observing from. Great for infrared astronomy. Great for radar astronomy. There's lots of nothing there and amazing people surrounding that nothing, and I highly recommend it. When, of course, it's safe to go there, because right now for Australia you don't want Yanks there.
Landon, can you watch the outside feed?
We're not letting anyone in.
Landon, can you watch the outside feed? Can you see the video? Or am I going to internally share this?
Oh, just one moment.
Yeah, just watch the outside video and you'll see the photo come up. Man, you look so much younger there, Chris.
Well, that was 2013.
You didn't age well from the last 20 years. No kidding.
No, so that's myself and
what year is
Clive
this?
Palmer. 2013.
2013. All right.
As I said, I'm trying to find the second. I'm working on my iPhone. Let's find your set here. Oh, there it is. And if I go to the live thing, make sure it's muted. So, there you go. Yeah, there's Clive.
So there you go.
So I think it's I agree with you, Chris. It's wrong to say that Clive is a Donald Trump of Australia. He is a showman. He is a successful business person. He's not so successful politically. On the other hand, Pauline is, like it or not, a fairly influential politician in Australia.
Yeah, probably not so much in the current parliament. She doesn't hold as much sway now. So what had happened was we had a very unpopular government that basically caused a lot of people who would normally vote for that party to vote for minor parties. And what had happened was Pauline found herself with 4 people in the Senate alongside herself, which was unheard of. But then, things happened and people left the party and there was a lot of turmoil and essentially she was left with one. But then at the following election, she was the only one who was re-elected. So she went from wielding a lot of power to not so. Oh, sorry, no, she wasn't the only one. There was her and one other who were elected.
But they kind of split amongst each other. And of course, people as well.
Yeah. They're still together.
Was convicted. All her conviction was overturned. So he was in the lower house and was convicted of doing naughty things. But that conviction was overturned on constitutional grounds, and she's now in the Senate doing things. And she still has some sway, particularly when we're trying to deal with this notion of we have offering to Australia this amazing network, but it may be that we're going to be prohibited from letting any person touch it other than the radio telescope array. It may basically come from outer space through the radio telescope arrays out Perth, and because Australia has this really weird internet situation.
Yeah, it became a big political football at one of the elections, where one party was trying to roll it out in a big way, and the other party was saying, "Well, there's better things coming. We can cut our costs back," and essentially, it's just become one of those political things that no one's going to touch. If you say you want to roll back the NBN, you are going to lose an election, so no one will do it.
But on the other hand, NBN was not well designed in a number of aspects. But there are two optical cable tunnels, 10 meters in diameter, full optical cables going into Perth, and just adding a bunch of other connections in there. I mean, just even lighting up Western Australia would be nice. But there's also a talk of building a large linear accelerator in Australia underground, and this is one of the things where Clive Palmer came into play, because the radio telescope array needs massive solar arrays in order to power it. You do not want to have coal-powered plants with AC coming in, because they are noise generators. They would blind the telescope with radio signals. So, but the mining industry is fearful of having a massive solar farm showing up, and so through Clive Palmer and through some of the mining stuff, this idea about building a very large linear accelerator in Australia would give the mining companies, and we're talking about they're talking about it on a scale of around 1,000-kilometer tunnel in Australia underground. It would be the case of saying, okay, we'll forgive you for putting in all this solar power to help power the radio telescope array if you go and build this accelerator, because they can then do a massive tunneling project underneath.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Later, Strummer's got to take off.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and by the way, like I said, there's going to be a debate. Again, I don't know why they're doing this on the whole mask thing at 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern on Reds channel, which I'll end this before then, so you guys can go watch that. Tell them all hi from me. I'll try to watch it, but I don't understand the purpose of that. Again, just some idiot that doesn't know fuck all about anything trying to, give out misinformation. To me, it's not entertaining, but, teach his own, I guess. Whatever. I don't judge.
Reds has a way of making these things entertaining.
Well, yeah, that's the reason I would watch it, for that very reason, right? I mean, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So you're only looking at building this stuff in Western Australia, or have you had discussions with other states at all, Landon?
Well, Western Australia is the area, Pillar region is the area identified for the radio quiet zone, because from the radio telescope array, we need, it's a region about 1/3 of Western Australia will be set aside as no development, no, and in fact, no cell towers, no radio towers. And there's 12 people living in that region of this third of Western Australia. It's very undense. 10 of them are all off the grid. And so we have basically said to the people, hey, we'll give you, 4 40 gig fiber links into Perth as a means for compensating the fact that you can't have Wi-Fi, right? You'll have some of the biggest pipes on the planet. It helps these people out. The problem is that the counterpart of this array is in South Africa. And you think Australian politics is interesting. South African politics are
yeah, so I've heard.
and that the counterpart of the array is over there. We're having to deal with that as well. So it's actually a pleasure to work with Australia in that regard, even if they have these characters that are interesting. I
think even our characters, though, when you can compare them to politicians, and like I sort of when I say, Palmer's sort of like our Donald Trump. He's nothing like Donald Trump, apart from he's tried to steal a few of his things. But it's probably the closest comparison. We're very centrist here in our politics. So it's the characters we've got are literally, they're just characters. But it's interesting you sort of say that region to give people a bit of an idea of like the Pilbara and that part of Western Australia, how isolated it is. The last uncontacted people in Australia, so an Indigenous tribe, was contacted in the early 1980s, having never had any contact with any white people or modern society. So that was only less than 40 years ago.
Yeah, and certainly we've worked with various Aboriginal councils in this regards to things that are employing people to service the radiotelescope array, and it's going to be a fantastic thing for astronomy. This array is going to be unlike any sort of astronomical instrument we've ever built, having exquisite detail and exquisite sensitivity for doing things like we will be able to look at aurora that is caused by and lightning on planets orbiting nearby stars. We'll be able to get that sensitive of this. We will be able to look at some of the first stars switching on at the edge of the visible universe with this array. It's going to be an enormous capability and put Australia on the map.
Hang on one sec. Steve, you got to mute if you're vaping. It's just going to drive you nuts.
The other thing, of course, as well as we're working is trying to help Australia develop its space industry. There's an emerging people know it, but Australia is building capabilities, and it's something that I've always wondered why Australia wasn't launching satellites from its northern tip of Queensland or northern area, because it's certainly in a prime location for that, and helping them try to develop a space industry is something I think that will be quite beneficial.
Yeah, once again, I agree with you. It's become a bit of a political issue here, where we've recently, and now prior to everything that's going on, so I don't know if it'll still happen, we'd announced a $50 million investment into a space program in line with the United States, and it became a big political issue, because I guess the other side of politics were not happy, and it was a waste of money, and we get these things that become very polarizing in Australian politics, and generally what will happen is, if that becomes too polarizing, it just kind of gets dropped off. But I mean, we've got a lot of empty space here. We've got a lot of opportunity to do things like this. There's a lot more we can do in Australia.
Really talented people.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that technology is something we'd like to see, and encouraged. But there's also, and I don't mean to be negative, but one of the things we encounter frequently in Australia is they say, well, but how did Americans do it? Because they seem to be unwilling to take a step or leap out and do something better, right? They say, well, we want to do it like the Americans do. Well, no, why don't you do it like Australia needs to do? Why don't you be better? Well, and there's that timidity, like, well, I don't know. That seems to be sticking a neck out a little bit, and that's one of the
we are very close to America, and I think a lot of people around the world, and even in America, don't realize how, or the relationship between the two countries. I mean, it's every time an American president comes out and says, Australia is our best friend in the world, there's a little bit of crowd service, I guess, but it's also a very true thing. Like Australia's the only country that's followed America into every conflict, regardless of what our thoughts were since. That's right. Since the Second World War. Yeah, we've no. Look, we do like to do things in a similar way to the US, because we're culturally, economically, we have a lot of. We're very close. I think there's a lot of things we do better. I think our obvious one, I guess our health system is miles ahead. But yeah, I think there is a little bit of an attitude in Australia of sometimes we do get too Americanized. There's a lot of kids who have got slight American accents. There's a lot of things that sort of get picked up. So I guess I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think Australia on its own has a number of things to offer, and so it's sometimes difficult to get them to take risks I talk about them being the power structure is very risk adverse to say, well, that sounds risky. No one's doing it like that, so why should we do it, right? And it's like, you have this capability. And so, but again, that's parallel comparison to what's going on in South Africa, where it's a very difficult thing to operate in that area. And I don't know that we will actually be successful in South Africa. I'm not supposed to say that, but South Africa has some really serious issues that we hope they will solve. But I have more confidence that Australian system will be able to overcome the issues we're facing than South Africa.
Yeah, I think you'll find that if it's a good idea and if you can sell it, people will jump on board with it.
And so understanding the players that are there. So for example, getting the mining industry on board by saying, okay, we build the accelerator tunnel, and that'll be lots of jobs building this massive tunnel. Think of CERN, but in a linear line on a whole different scale. And then say, okay, we could do that mining thing, even though you're putting all that solar stuff, which we're not comfortable with. As kind of this compromise that's
have you had any conversations with Twiggy Forrest?
That is a name that comes up. Yes, I'm not me personally.
He's a mining multi-billionaire, but he tends to jump on things like this a little bit. So he's probably a good one to have the conversation with. If you can get into the Hancock group, obviously that's they're fairly influential, which is a shame when mining companies are so influential. But
that's the origin in Australia.
Based on mining.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff, and not only just the mining companies, but also the people that work in the mining industry and work to support the mining industry. So that's something you have to be aware of. But again, so Australia as a space launching facility, Australia as a energy physics facility, Australia as an astronomical venue. Has some great things going forward, and matter of time and navigating all the little nooks and crannies of politics.
Well, if I can ever offer any assistance, if Steve wants to put you in touch with me, I'm more than happy to offer any assistance or insight, because I think Australia needs things like that.
You guys don't have communication? You guys don't know each other?
No, it's our first time. Yeah, we do now.
Really?
Can I make a request from the Australians?
Possibly.
Can we get small pet kangaroos? Can you
miniaturize them?
Like a pet kangaroo?
That would be. Oh my god, that would be awesome.
They're called wallabies.
They're cute. Yes. Wallabies are cute.
Yeah, no, I don't want a portly ass wallaby. I want a kangaroo.
He wants like a 1 meter kangaroo.
But Mikey, by the way, hello Mikey. But Mikey, they're actually cute little mini kangaroos without some of the roo problems, because
they're mean.
And they're things that like to run into your vehicle.
I'm just saying,
you don't want to hit a roo.
I've been in those giant bull bars.
Dude, you can make a fortune.
Bull bar, at Kangaroo Island, actually, no less.
Think how much money you can make making mini roos.
It was amazing that thing.
Mini roos. We want mini roos.
The roo survived. It just bounced off, right? And
Landon, would you buy a mini roo? Would you have a mini roo as a pet?
Yes.
You want one? Yes,
no, you would.
You know you would.
Who says no to that?
Right.
Me. God, they're pests.
But a mini roo, just a little mini pest. All pets can be, problematic.
That's like saying deer are pests.
As bad as those self-corrected cockatoos that chew up your house.
I'll take the bush baby or the wombat.
No, wombats are too short and stout. I want to be able to go on a jog with my kangaroo.
They mess up your garden. But yes, they have these cockatoos that get bored, and when it's sunrise or sunset, they shout, blazing alarm stuff, and then they grab hold of the corners of your house and basically chew them to bits, right? Because they're bored. Because they're.
Yep. Have you thought about Netflix in Australia? Maybe the cockatoos would be less bored and they'd stop destroying all your shit. Just put it on a screen. Maybe some Net Geo or just a bunch of grain. What do they eat? Fruit? Just a bunch of fruit on a conveyor belt. They'd watch that.
Oh, they eat anything, those things.
Yes.
See, I'm lucky. I don't have too many in my part of the country, which is good. But yeah, we get some interesting. If you want a pet, have a look at a platypus. Just you want a female platypus.
But yeah, don't get the males. The males
not get the male.
They're poisonous. Males are.
Or no, venomous or poisonous?
Venomous.
Venomous.
Yeah, they've got like a little.
Yeah.
Bite,
They will mess you up.
Well, they have a claw. They have a
platypus.
little claw thing that they can. But yeah, poisonous means that if you eat it, it's toxin. Venomous means they can envenomate you, make you sick.
There was a
What is a bush
colleague in northern Queensland that said, "I'll take a 50-50 chance," and he guessed wrong, and he got in the hospital because of the sting.
Those are those little
platypus.
What are they? Little gallicle things? Those little like big eyes. They look like I don't like. They're always like on crack cocaine.
They're cute.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, they're cute. Yeah. They're just like.
Can we just raid
lemurs.
Madagascar?
They're like a
and
lemur.
check all
There you
their-
go, like a lemur.
Yeah, I was about to say, can we go to Madagascar and just raid all their lemurs? Because they don't seem to like them very much, and I like them very much.
Lemurs are adorable.
They're the best.
But as I say that, but literally this guy was saying, hey, I'll grab this platypus for you. He was swimming in this pond, or the pair of them was swimming in the pond. And I said, is that a good idea? He says, well, it's a 50-50 chance.
No.
And he grabbed one of them. It turned up to be the male. It got stung, and we had sent him to the hospital.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah. It's just there's certain animals you leave alone.
It's kind of like
the platypus
snakes. I love snakes, but even if I know it's probably it's not a coral snake, it's going to be a king snake, or if it's some type of gopher snake or whatever. I'm still not going to probably take the chance in the wild, even though I do think I know the differences. But
so in Australia, we just assume they're poisonous.
Well, they are. No, you don't have to assume. You just if you find one that isn't venomous in Australia, you let me know. They're like almost all.
But it's funny because the spiders I've encountered, some of the big ones, they say, oh, that's tame. But there was this little spider, that bastard. I mean, I avoided it, and it actually came at me. I mean, this spider was aggressive. It actually.
That would have been a redback. That would have been a redback. They're bastards of things.
Yeah.
It was an aggressive spider, and I was trying to I don't want to bother you. No, let's go at it, man.
And I think they're the most poisonous spider in the world.
Yes.
It's one. I don't think it's poisonous, but it is one of the most.
I survived. I got out of it, but it was
venomous.
It was not. I thought maybe it was disturbing his nest. No, it was just because he's just a bastard.
They're horrible. I actually just found a stack of their eggs in my shed. Needless to say, there was flames and there was spray and
I'd burn the whole house to the ground just to make sure. Don't take any chances.
Don't worry.
Look, I mean, in California, we don't have to worry about that.
No reason.
I don't like spiders, but I have gotten used because of where I live. Like, I'll see a little spider in the corner of the room, and I just leave it be. It doesn't mess with me. I don't mess with it. I don't care. Black widows, they die on sight.
I agree, Steve, but this spider, not only did it not accept that premise, it was saying, I'm going to attack you anyway. You
It didn't accept your premise. It didn't agree to your terms.
You didn't catch where he...
It came for Landon.
I thought it was a.
Now we got spiders aren't the big deal down here because like any kind of recluse are not indigenous, but we do have an invasive bark scorpion that is coming over from Arizona recently, and so there's been sightings of bark scorpions which are venomous. There are a few other types of desert scorpions around here that probably wouldn't be good to be stung by. Most of them are harmless. The true desert scorpion that is most native here, sure, it would hurt, but it's basically completely harmless to humans. They can grow pretty big too.
I think that's harmful, but not lethal.
Well, the scorpions can be lethal to like mostly people with already compromised systems. Older people, youngers. You don't find often scorpions kill people. But I've seen a scorpion here that was absolutely like monstrous.
You said it was like harmless. I'm like, I don't know if it's harmless. It's not lethal, but there is some harm going on there.
Look, if a scorpion stings somebody and you had to have like 1 million of them to even notice anything, that's considered to be harmless. I mean, the venom doesn't really affect humans, right?
It hurts real bad.
Well, yes,
Steve.
but that's not what they consider to be.
Like the ones they use on Fear Factor, the black ones that they pile on people.
Those are African. Those are
king scorpion.
Yeah, those are kings. Yeah.
What about the scorpion Dwayne The Rock Johnson hybrid from that awful movie. Is that?
Dude, that was hideous.
That was harmless. That was harmful to watch.
That's some timeless CGI.
That was the best CGI known to man. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but
Yeah, like a bee
I
sting,
can watch it.
yeah, exactly.
That's a
Somebody- George says
scorpion.
a bee sting is considered harmless, right? I mean, because a bee sting, unless you have an anaphylactic shock to it, bee stings are considered to be non-deadly, right? I mean, you have to have an allergic. One bee sting is not going to kill anybody unless you have an actual reaction to it. But if you're
I
dying
feel
because
like
of the anaphylactic shock,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So
The most dangerous thing we've got here is actually a creature called the drop bear. I don't know if you've heard of the drop bear. They are freaking dangerous.
Say that one more
It's
time.
like a drop bear. So essentially, a drop bear is like it's a version it's an offshoot of the koala species. But what they do is they basically wait. They sit in trees and wait for their prey to come along. And they drop and they claw. They attack.
We have that too. I know what you're referring to. Yeah, we have them.
They have claws that you've never heard of.
We call them snipes.
Snipes.
Oh, yeah.
Snipe. Have you ever gone snipe
the
hunting?
North American redback snipe.
Has anybody? Yeah. Have you ever gone snipe hunting, Chris?
Oh, crikey!
In the scouts, you go like snipe hunting, and you go out there. They'll try to tell you these birds out there called snipes, and they'll have you like pillowcases, and you have to like try to catch a snipe with your pillowcase.
You got a bunch of idiot
It's called
teenagers
snipe hunting.
running around the woods with pillowcases trying to catch this fucking animal.
All kidding aside, the skies in Australia are amazing, right? And the nice thing is that even the cities are fairly compact. You get a few kilometers out and outback, and you have an amazing sky. And given their latitudes, you have to think like the ecliptic will go straight overhead, and so see things like like Etecrina or the center of the galaxy straight overhead, where you can see the two spiral arms, going off to the side. You can see these magnificent objects. Again, like Etecrina, Omega Centauri, 47 Decana, and so forth, and they're just glorious stuff. The best visible and small telescope objects are in the southern hemisphere. And
Landon, that's a perfect sky for a drop bear to drop right in and get you.
They come right at home on their sky.
See, the reason we've got good skies is because you need good skies to see the drop bears coming.
Do they blend in with the background of the night sky?
So Steve, didn't you in the Navy? You were in the southern hemisphere as well.
Oh yeah, I've been in Australia twice. I was in the Fremantle, which is near Perth, and then we were in
so
Melbourne.
you know about the skies down there as well.
Well, I mean, from what I remember, I didn't stare at the skies down there. I can tell you this: the clearest skies I ever saw was actually not out near in the Straits of Hormuz, with the by Iran. In that area, in the Gulf there, I am telling you, it's you literally can't see shit. I mean, you can put your hand in front of your face. It's that dark, and the skies are just.
Has been the Lut Desert in Iran, who's also a great spot. But yeah, deserts are really great.
Yeah. So near the desert stuff is very So I imagine Australia. I didn't really pay attention to Australia, but I was actually doing a job. But yeah.
But they have. Thank you for your job, by the way, Steve.
Oh, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And I know that you have well-deserved benefits from that,
which I might be utilizing tomorrow. I'm serious. If disinfection doesn't start going away, I am going to make a medical appointment tomorrow.
Yeah, but still, if you can get down to Australia and go out there in nighttime sky, it's just extraordinary.
I know one place in the States that are like that. Now, where I live, there's a local path. Trail road that you can actually go to take to Las Vegas. It's about a 4-hour drive. It's the local, the local routes. The locals always have a route that nobody else really knows about, but it's not on the maps, right? And you would really have to be hard pressed to find this route. But there's a route that you can go through Yucca Valley. You go by through Joshua, and then you go by the military base there. And there's a back road that goes right up to Las Vegas, and you save about a good 45 minutes, and it's nice. But you put you in the middle of absolute nowhere. There's a road called Morningstar Road, or Old Morningstar Road, which is not that far from Amboy, which is an old crater, a cylinder cone crater, and there's a railroad track there. And if you ever go that route, just pull off to the side when you hit that railroad track at Old Morningstar Road. There's not a light for about 120 miles. Yeah. There's nothing. It's absolutely desolate.
And Stevie, I agree. Either that,
and so clear sky.
That you have these nighttime skies, but for astronomy, I hear this thing about saying, well, go out to Nevada, go out to
so clear
Utah,
out there.
Colorado. The problem is that the sky there, the seeing is terrible. Even though it is dark, it is remote. What you need is stable air. You need flat, stable air. And the problem, for example, if you're going into Nevada and Colorado, those areas where you have very turbulent air,
Well, it depends. I mean, there's been times out there that I didn't see very much turbulence. The stars were not twinkling.
What you see out of the telescopes is typically there. So they talk about the places as the five stops are places like Mauna Kea in Hawaii, Australia, the Atacama Desert, places like like Iran, the Lut Desert, and Antarctica. Right, and what you need is so remote. As you say, Steve, remote skies, dark skies are nice, but to get image quality and have very stable imaging, which you can get fine detail, you need flat, dry, open places. And Australia is just full of that. I mean, that's.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But like I said, the time I was out there, it was very little turbulence. The stars were just amazing. I didn't see any atmosphere. Like you could see the stars weren't twinkling and. To me, that somebody lives in a light polluted conditions. I mean, I've normally lived somewhere where light pollution's pretty prevalent. Wasn't the first time I've seen stars like that, but it's still impressive. Like I remember going to Kansas, the first time in Kansas where it's just dark, and I saw the Milky Way. I'm like, holy crap!
Yeah, but you can't see that in California very well. Look at the seeing conditions. There's a reason why they don't have large telescopes in the middle of Kansas. There is, however, because again the turbulence. So you need this combination of stuff.
But nowadays
they're rare. It's rare, right? You have some stuff in Sahara, but it's hard to get to. You have stuff in Lut Desert. It's hard to get to. Gobi Desert is hard to get to. But Australia, the Atacama Desert, or South,
and then now they use lasers to prevent that atmospheric.
Yeah, I think it's to help counteract that. But again, to see something like the Eta Carina Nebula, right, or the Carina Nebula, which is like Orion, but like 4 or 5 fold. Just sitting.
Can you see that with the naked eye?
Yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. It's actually about 4 to 5 times the size of the Orion Nebula, and it's got this nice pinkish reddish glow to it. Fantastic sights.
Speaking of looking up, Mr. Landon, with my fantabulous new astronomy binoculars that I bought, I saw that there dang old comet.
Did you?
Congratulations. Tell us about it. And sorry, by the way, Australia, this is one of those Northern Hemisphere comments. Sorry.
Yeah, this is for the cool kids. So Australia, if you can just check your privilege.
See it. You didn't. Okay.
We never get anything here.
You got Comet McNaught. You got Comet McNaught. That was
we can't even go out and look at the stars because of the drop bears. I mean, come on.
You know the drop bears are nocturnal. You knew that, Landon. You tried to lure him out to get murdered by those drop bears.
So tell us about your seeing the comet.
So first of all, I thought it was what is it? Venus. I thought it was Venus.
It's
I'm like, that is
Venus.
bright. I'm like, that is bright because it was low on the horizon, and it was bright. And I was like,
you actually saw it with the naked eye?
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't. I have too much light pollution here to see with the naked eye. I saw it the other night through a telescope.
I'm right up against corn. I'm right up against corn country. So outside of my subdivision, and then it's nothing for about 12
miles. Could you make out a tail?
Something else. I could not make out the tail because I think the way it was displayed to me was kind of, I was getting the butt of the tail. So I'm like, I see
you're
something
looking kind of
weird.
Down the tail.
Yeah, I was looking through its tail at it, and it threw me off because I was like, all right, let me pull out my little star map app on my phone. I'm like, well, no, Venus is way down here. What the fuck am I? That's it.
Yeah.
So I tried to use the binoculars to like beat in on it, and it's bright. Like I'm getting like super high energy light into my eyeball, not just like fuzziness. I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, that's
when did you see it? When did you?
That was, when was that, baby? Are you paying attention? When did we see the comet? 2-3 days ago?
Yeah, the closest
Something
approach
like
was
that.
on the 23rd, but it was moving away from us. I saw it at night, and I had to see it with binoculars. I couldn't see it with the naked eye because, again, light pollution. But I knew where to look. It was in the northwest from us, basically a little bit below the Big Dipper, a little bit above.
Northwest?
Northwest from my location, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
A little
what's
bit low, it's going below the Dipper. But
Yeah, a
you know,
little bit
it's heading
below
up there.
the Big Dipper, right. And I saw it, and I know what to look for, but it was, if somebody who didn't know what to look for, the binoculars probably weren't able to see it. My landlord said he spotted it. I don't know if he really was looking at it, because who knows. But it is really hard to see. But I got to tell you, when I first saw it in the morning, right, when it was going towards the sun, and it was about, 10, 12 to 15 degrees most off the horizon as it kind of going around the sun, and the sun's coming up, right? So as the sun comes up, it's losing the ability to see the comet because obviously it's brighter. But while the sun was still down and it was clearly daybreak, I mean, it was not dark, I still couldn't see the comet because it's so diffused against a light bluish, background. But with the telescope, with the binoculars, boom, I saw that tail clearly, and it was long. And I saw both tails and the nucleus.
And one of the things you do when you see the comet in a binoculars is to travel back through the tail and move the binoculars back and forth along the comet tail, because the motion is easier to spot. Because again, comets are very diffuse, and so particularly as you move out, you kind of get lost in the star globe.
Chris has got to go. I
got to run, everyone.
I'll give Landon your Twitter later.
Yeah,
thank
definitely.
you, Chris. Pleasure to see you.
Yeah, likewise. Catch you all
your
after.
continent down there, and then land down under.
Watch out for drop bears.
Hope the ground harnesses stay put and you don't get any drop bears.
No, look, I'll just walk outside with an umbrella. That and put some Vegemite behind my ears.
Yeah. By the way,
before Chris goes,
I prefer Ozimite and Promite to Vegemite.
Oh,
so
no. See, we were getting on so well there.
No. But Ozimite is one of Dick Smith's thing, Dick brands and Promite. But
it's made from drop bear resin.
I like
it's just not the same.
I like Vegemite
If you put spam in the trap,
better than Marmite.
Jeff's got to say something. Jeff, go ahead before Chris has got to go.
I was just gonna say, so before Chris goes, maybe Landon might be the right person to ask here, but do you have any ideas that you could maybe hit Chris up for one time for sort of a little sort of experiment or observational thing that perhaps Chris could do with his friend Bobby, who's
yes,
I think it's open, because everybody's favourite flat earther, but Bobby's open to Bobby's open to changing his mind, but you've been looking for an idea for some sort of experiment or observation that you could do with Bobby to perhaps
I tell you,
wrong
Chris,
about this.
And Jeff, what I would recommend is that, and I did this with a friend in Canberra, is to observe a total lunar eclipse that's visible in the U.S. and Australia, and you'll and observe where the moon is during the total lunar eclipse with respect to the background stars, and you draw where the moon is, and you compare, and you find that they're seeing at a different angle than we are. They're seeing this parallax, but you can not only measure the distance to the moon, but you also observe the curvature of the Earth as well. They're in a different spot.
Yeah, that could work. Yeah, I do have to run. Really good to talk to you all. And
did they turn off all the microphones in Australia or something?
Good night, I guess. Good night to all of you. I guess. I'll say good morning, but have a good one, everyone. See you all.
All right, buddy.
See you, Chris.
Night, Chris.
All right, now that he's gone, we can talk massive shit about him.
All right, let's talk about Chris real quick. I got some shit to say.
He's still
about
here.
Chris
Damn, he just dropped his camera.
face.
Yeah. No.
You gotta wait. You gotta make sure they're gone. Damn it.
No, don't interrupt me.
Chris.
Chris's face is so infuriating to me. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
His face is fine.
So I got
But
Chris
yes,
that I do over and under with, which talks about politics at 8 o'clock on Wednesdays. I have Landon, which we need to find more time. I know he's been busy, so we got to do another DEFCON 1 science.
Where has he been busy at?
Oh, he does his code stuff. Yeah, he does the code stuff.
Oh, and
I was doing coding. I've got these pooters that have to keep pooting.
Pooters that need to be pooted.
Yes.
That sounded so wrong.
Right?
They're doing some massive number 3 stuff that's running that goes there. And also, I'm helping. There's actually some physicists that are working on this imaging technique where they're able to see with visible light that's like about 500 nanometer, in the green spectrum, able to see objects that are in the 1 nanometer size. They're able to see objects that are 2 orders of magnitude to 3 orders of magnitude smaller than the wavelength of light. And originally the idea was that they were going to look at surface of chips to look for small defects, right? To try to understand these sets. And the classical way is if you want to see something at the nanometer scale, you need to have something that at that wavelength, like X-rays. They found a technique where they can look at things much smaller than the wavelength of light and actually see those objects, but it requires massive computation. And so they were starting to look at surfaces of chips to be able to figure out, okay, we've got a defect here, we got a contaminant here. And that's when they started seeing biological specimens on the surface. And that's when they started imaging viruses. And in fact, they're able to watch viruses move across a surface in real time, but using normal light and not X-rays, because you blast with X-rays, everything's destroyed. So they can actually watch viruses in action in real time with this, but it requires lots of massive computation. So they've been able to do some very interesting things with this technique. And really it involves trying to build to look at a hologram, a laser hologram off of the surface, and then you solve Maxwell's equation to compute what the hologram you expect looks like, given what you think the surface is. And so comparing Maxwell equations in 3D on steroids with the observation, you could say this is different here, all because there's this lump, and you actually can see down to the when you see down the nanometer scale, it's actually seeing surface structure of viruses moving across the thing.
Did you say Maxwell's equations?
Yes, Maxwell's equations.
How good are you at manipulating those and working with them? Something you would have to review, or like you just know them off the top of your head, kind of stuff.
Easy.
I know them, right? And I know them particularly in code, right? So you have to solve.
Well, see, the reason I ask is because Dr. John Kroon wants to do a Hangout student on special relativity. I want to do one on general. He wants to do one on special first. I'm okay with that, right? And I've been doing these math videos, right? And you saw my integral one, I assume, right? Did you watch that one? Okay. I'm going to be doing
very
one
good,
on
by the way. I admire that you are able to put yourself out there. You have no fear of
I really don't. No, I really don't when it comes to these math videos. So look, I'm not a mathematician, right? So I'm one of those people. Look, if I'm a layperson who's had math, a little bit of math, right? And if I'm able to explain it in a way to somebody that makes sense to them, that I wish probably somebody would have explained it to me intuitively ages ago, it would have made a lot of difference, right? So,
but the four fundamental, Maxwell equations, the Gauss's law, for magnetism, Faraday's law, and Ampere Maxwell law.
Well, okay, so let me see if I can remember this. Okay, so this is the problem that I have if I was trying to explain something. I like physics, you know that, right?
Yes.
But like Gauss's law is complicated. Gauss's law basically deals with if you have a boundary condition, like you take an integral of a boundary condition, and you have a field that's going inside that condition, then it's going to be exactly equivalent to like a parallel vector to the boundary condition of your whatever your region of space is.
Yes.
So if you have a flux going in, whatever going in has to come out perpendicular, right, to the boundary condition. And then you use these formulas.
Del dot D equals rho, right? That's the.
Yeah, rho is your density, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so you basically have to it's a time rate of change for your flux density, but you also have to integrate across like what's called a double integral because you have a surface condition, and then you have three integrals. You got three, like for example, flow rates, right? We had to study flow rates. So let's say you have like a container that has some kind of solution in it, right? Some kind of just even brine solution. So you have a couple things happening. You have a pipe that will come in with fresh water, and your pipe that goes out with the diluted solution. So if you have water being pumped in, it's going to be diluted, and if it pumps in from the bottom, it's going to be dispersed from the bottom, right? And so these fluid equations are actually the same thing as Gauss's law, and these field equations only put to a fluid. All these things are absolutely integrally related to each other on what's called the principle of least resistance, the principle of least action.
But the Gauss's law for magnetism is nicer because actually the del dot B.
The del is your
zero.
partial derivatives on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. And it's zero, right? That's one of the other fundamental things
zero,
that
right?
Maxwell had. Yes. And that's a nice thing.
But see, I can't explain it.
Steve knows this stuff.
But the problem is I couldn't explain it in a video. Does that make sense? I couldn't explain partial derivatives in a del or nabla.
Yep.
Yeah, I couldn't explain it well enough to where I think I'd be comfortable enough to doing so. I mean, I could maybe do this. For example, if let's say I wanted to show just what a partial derivative was with respect to two other variables. So let's say you had three variables. You had X, Y, and Z. And I want to hold Y and Z constant, but I want to differentiate with respect to the Y, right? For whatever it is on your whatever your container is, your sphere or whatever. I can differentiate with respect to only one of the axes as opposed to the other two. And then you would use a partial derivative to do that, right? You would use the partial derivative X, but you would hold the partial derivative of Y to Z. And your del, right? Your del is your partial derivative of all those combined.
Yep.
But again,
so
I like those topics, but I couldn't explain it in a way that would make sense on a video.
I think that you're making sense, but the thing is, people, a lot of people talk about the E equals mc squared, right? But even Einstein said, I am a mere pittance with respect to people such as Maxwell.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was Maxwell's equations that, in his insight, that allowed Einstein to come up with special and general relativity, right? If it wasn't for Maxwell, you wouldn't have had an Einstein.
Yeah, I think the hardest part is the symbology, right? For example, Einstein, his symbology was unique to him a little bit because he took these indices and he made them such that he didn't have to write down summations all the time. So he had what's called upstairs and downstairs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about. He didn't actually include the summations. He just basically had the indices downstairs on the what's called the subscript.
Feynman called it uppers and lowers.
Yeah, uppers and lowers, upstairs and downstairs, upper and lowers. And all these were basically notations for mathematics. And it's very confusing. For example, if I see a superscript, M2, right? And trying to I shouldn't use differentiate. Trying to explain in my head that it's not squared. It's not x squared. It's x superscript 2. Right? Or x to the m. He used, I think, x to the m or x to the n. These are indices. These are actually summations indices. So when you see x to the m, right, it's actually representing a summation of things in these equations. And it's very, very confusing. And I don't like it. Make it stop, Landon.
That's sort of things. In fact, Feynman was talking about the uppers and lowers and saying, this is the notation that's classically there. And I said, well, why don't you do blah, blah, blah? Why don't you do parentheses, thing, comma, thing?
Yeah.
Well, that's not how it's done, right? And he's like, no, get over don't understand the concept, not the notation. You can program them later on, your heart's content.
Well, like today,
so when I do a programming function, I don't do the superscript stuff. I do the parentheses, comma notations.
You do it a lot more explicitly.
Yes.
All right. So today I was trying to explain to somebody because I think it's a fun fact, like flat space, right? So explaining flat space is really, really difficult because I try to explain to them, if you have a piece of paper, right, and I draw parallel lines on it, whether I draw them on the x-axis or I'm drawing on the y-axis, it doesn't matter. If I roll up that paper into a cylinder, the topological space is still flat.
Yes.
The cylinder space.
The best way I've described non-Euclidean space is I said, non-Euclidean space is like airline costs for tickets, right? The airline system is non-Euclidean. It doesn't make sense that you can go from San Francisco to Boston for this cost and Boston back to San Francisco for less cost. I
agree with that.
That's a non-Euclidean space. But airline mileage and airline costs, travel.
I was trying to get the point about curvature is because flat earthers talk about curvature, and I don't think they understand curvature. Curvature is not, for example, a cylinder. You know how obviously it looks curved, right? A cylinder looks curved, but that's not what curvature means in mathematics. Curvature in mathematics means that if you have what's called a parallel transport, and you have these vectors, and you take a vector and a parallel transport, and if you put it go around 2 pi, if the vector is the same orientation as the original, there's no curvature. So if you do it on a sphere, there's going to be curvature. Any point in the sphere.
It's part of the curl.
Yeah, well,
He knows his stuff.
the equivalency in three-dimensional space in a field would be the curl, which is your torque.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the vector transport, if I took for example, if I took a sphere and I cut it in half, there's no possible way to make that sphere flat. You couldn't do a coordinate system to transpose the spherical coordinates to a Cartesian coordinate. There's no way to do it. That's curvature. Now on a cylinder you can. If I have a parallel lines and I have a coordinate system, or some kind of a metric space, right? Some kind of coordinate metric space.
Yeah.
I could always take any 2 points or 3 points or any couple points on a cylinder, the outside two boundary condition of a cylinder, and make it into a regular coordinate system. That means it's flat.
I mean, part of what Steve is talking about is that you talk about a sphere on a surface. You can get mapping on the top, but as you go to the sides, basically you get an infinite mapping, because as you go to the side, it becomes parallel
all points on a sphere are going to be curved. You can never have any 2 points on a curve where you can relate to a Cartesian coordinate system. That's why it's curved. All points on a sphere are going to be curved. Yeah. But that does, for example, like a cone is actually flat space except at one point.
Yes. So they emerge at the singularity.
And then at the singularity, right? At the singularity is exactly what it is. At the singularity is infinite curvature. That's what a singularity would be at the point where it's non-differentiatable. And this is I love this shit, Matt. I do. I love it, but I'm telling you, I don't know enough about it to ever make a video about it. I don't think, because I only do videos on subjects that I'm at least comfortable enough to try to relate to somebody where they would understand it, and I can answer questions. Right, and I'm not familiar with topology to that degree.
But understand, folks, that the Maxwell's equations are extremely relevant to you, extremely relevant to this podcast,
to everything.
In terms of modern society, Maxwell's impact on modern society is enormous in his ability to understand what it is, his ability to show, Maxwell's equations basically derives the speed of light, and it was where Einstein said.
Yes.
These fundamental mathematical laws that said speed of light must be blah, period.
Mm-hmm. Well,
how do I build a length transformation space to allow speed of light to always be the speed of light? That was what Einstein did.
Would you agree that okay, it's going to sound weird if people are going to jump on me with this, but we'll see if Landon agrees. He's the expert. Einstein, the term relativity was nothing really new. He didn't really discover any of that. His big thing was saying, hey, look, we already had relativity. Newton knew about this, right? I mean, Leibniz knew about this. They understood frames of reference in a coordinate system, or a Cartesian coordinate system. Relativity was not something new. What he did is he was able to do the special theory of relativity first, and I think in 1905, then in general in 1915, I think it was.
Although it was
10 or 15 years later.
He wrote it in 1915 and published in 16. Yeah.
Okay, but his special theory of relativity came first, and what was the reason why that was so popular? The reason why it was so huge was not because he discovered relativity, is because he said the speed of light c must remain constant in all frames of references. That's what nobody figured out before.
And that was and he took that from, his inspiration came from Maxwell's equations, which said the speed of light is this, right?
Yes, it was a fixed amount, 186,232.16 or whatever it is, right?
300,000 kilometers per second, yes.
Kilometers. This was fixed. They thought this was going to be something that, if you were going to light speed and somebody else was going light speed, and you both were going light speed, you'd be 2 times light speed, or if you're going the opposite direction, it'd be 0. Doesn't work that way relativity-wise, especially the relativity that Einstein discovered. That was his big contribution, but it was all based upon Maxwell's equations.
Yes, and so Einstein said, I'm not the giant. I rested on the shoulders of the giant who was Maxwell.
You know what? This would have been a good DEF CON 1 science hangout.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
this
anyway,
is what I'm saying. Dr. Kuhn wants to talk about that kind of stuff.
So I would say go look up Maxwell's equations. The Wikipedia actually has a reasonable article on Maxwell's equations.
I hate Wikipedia for math, to be honest with you.
But you understand the implications of that you'll get for
I'm not saying I don't use Wikipedia, but I found other sources.
The problem with Wikipedia for math is they don't want all the details, right? For example, in the FNV hash, that Fowler-Novel hash, where I'm the in FNV, I tried to put in an equation to understand how derive the constants for f and b hash. And they said, well, no, you don't need to. You need to understand it. You just document the existence of it stuff. So Wikipedia is not good for understanding the details.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's good. But if you do go to there and say, understand Maxwell's equation in terms of its importance, any historical thing, it's actually pretty good.
I like Wolfram Alfram's Math World section.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really good. But again, it's a lot more advanced. But
so do yourself a favor. Look up Maxwell's equations on why it's important to me, and you'll see some.
So Lelumo asked Landon, is a Planck length singularity possible, or there's actually a larger different size limit to a Schwarzschild radius?
So the Planck distance is really it's not like Wolfram says that's the granularity of space.
Mm-hmm.
What a thing like a Planck length is it becomes impossible to differentiate two different positions that are within a Planck length of each other.
Yeah, they're so infamous. It's such an infinitesimal that you couldn't differentiate.
It's the fuzziness of your ability to resolve spots that becomes the case. Now, it turns out that there's actually, for time, people have recently shown that time has a granularity that's probably less than 10 to the minus 30 seconds, which is bigger than the Planck time. But again, quantum mechanical says your ability to resolve two spots in time that are very close to each other is limited.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really the Planck basically is more ability to just differentiate two different positions. It's the fuzziness of your measurement.
I would also say it has to do with simultaneity too. The simultaneity, it used to be thought of is if I sent you a light ray and somebody else sent you a light ray and it gets to the third person at the same time, right? I mean, like if you're equidistant from both of them, that's okay. Well, by the way, Steve, thanks for showing up, buddy. I know you got to go. So that's okay. We understand that, right? If one person sends a light ray to a person in the middle and the other person, they're going to be simultaneous to the observer. He's going to say, "Look, I got these light rays at the same time." But what happens if one of them is moving relative to the observer, right? Then things start getting hanky, right? Things start changing because your coordinate system has been what's called changed. It's been transformed. It's called a Lorentz transformation, but it's actually been changed. There's a Lorentz factor. You can actually figure out what the factor is. 1 over the square root of 1 minus v squared over c squared. But the coordinate system has literally changed on your x and y axis. This is why for any metric space that you can have, you have a change in your coordinate system. And usually for these coordinate systems, like if you look at a Minkowski diagram, right? It's not xy, it's xt, right? T is on your y axis, and x is your normal axis, but your vertical, your orthogonal axis is going to be with respect to time.
Time.
Yeah. And
so if you have a light pulse you send out, and you have observer on the left, which is in a fixed distance from you, and a further on the right that's moving relative to you, the observer on the right is going to have a transformation of their coordinate system.
Yes.
That's going to be different than the one on the left,
Absolutely.
even though they're moving, right?
Yep. And that's why. And by the way, it's a full circle. I did a hangout the other day on matrix theory. I don't know if you saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions asked was Cheshire, and she said, "When would you use matrix theory?" And not just solving linear equation systems. And I told her when you're doing transformations. And one of the things I was thinking of is doing transformations for a metric space where you have relativist effects, because your spatial time coordinate system is going to be different from you as opposed to somebody else.
And of course that coordinate transformation is, for example, something such as GPS, where you have distances to GPS satellites in trying to get a latitude and longitude. That's a transformation spot.
Maybe I do more than maybe I do know more than I actually let on sometimes.
And this is the thing, you go down to the South Pole. Yes, there's a South Pole. You can go there. I've called and talked to Steve while standing on the South Pole. And by the way,
I was
Steve,
there for that.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm glad you were in the audience. I'm sorry I didn't hear you, but you're probably one of the people that ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
You tend to ask questions. But by the way, Steve, I made sure I was holding the phone over the South Pole spot so that my voice was coming from the South Pole because.
But I gotta tell you, no, Len, I gotta tell you, I really do kind of surprise myself sometimes.
Yes, but still, that was a case. That's a case where the way they do transformations at the South Pole, if software is correct, is they rotate the coordinate system to the side.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's easy to
so
do a
Apple
polar.
Map, for example, when I took an iPhone down to the South Pole and got it to within rounding error to the South Pole, the thing crashed. So they sent a Apple engineer with me the next time I went to the South Pole with a fix, and we verified. We brought the map to the South Pole, and it did the correct thing. And by the way, this is for Mr. I hate Apple weird guy, and you know who I'm talking about.
Steve.
Google Maps. Watch it. What Google does is they say within about a kilometer of the South Pole, they give you a fixed map. And they don't rotate it. So you can't actually see where you are or orient yourself because they basically say it's close enough to this coordinate singularity, so we'll just give you this map that's fixed. Whereas Apple, what they do is they rotate the poles to the side so that when you get near the South Pole or the North Pole, they put the pole on the equator. Yeah. Where the inertial date line cross and the meridian cross. So they rotate to the side.
William says in the live chat, I think he's actually a professor, if I'm not mistaken, of mathematics. He says, in my functional analysis work, matrices are usually just transformations and homomorphisms. However, my current research partner is a combinatorianist who uses matrices just to keep his data straight. Which, by the way, same thing in computer science. You actually use a matrix, and you had to actually dimensionalize them back in the old days, and that's exactly what it was. You would use a dimensional array to keep your data straight. But yeah.
And there's amazing stuff you can do in matrices and number theory as well when you do polynomial systems and so forth as well.
Yeah, but like I said, I don't know how much I should dive into any of that stuff because again, I just not think that I'm that.
Matrices are fun.
Matrices are fun.
And once you get over once you get over the hairiness of the actual deriving stuff, and
should I do one
why they're important?
Should I do another one on like how to find the identity of a matrix, inverse matrices, and solving by interest?
Yes.
Because the way I show to solve something, I use Kramer's rule, which is pretty simplistic. But there's another way to solve things. There's a couple other ways of solving things. Why do
you care about eigenvalues? Why do you care about identity?
See, but this is what I don't see. Eigenvalues, I have a hard time with. I conceptually understand eigenvalues. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have the you say, Steve, I'll give you $1 million to explain eigenvalues in a video. I wouldn't be able to do it. I know my limitations, right? I know what they are. I know what eigenvectors, but I couldn't really explain them in a way that would be coherent for somebody to understand. I can explain a inverse matrix. I can explain an identity matrix. If I really had to, I could probably do row echelon, Euler Gauss substitution because I've done those.
I'm sure you could get at least 5% of the value out of an identity matrix if you tried.
5%, yeah, that's about it. Yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't see. The reason is, even I took college algebra, and we had to learn matrix, and we had to learn Gauss-Jordan elimination, and row substitution, and identity. We had to learn all about matrix theory, but we never got into eigenvalues and eigenvectors. And I didn't learn anything about that until well after I got out of college.
So matrices are nice, but it's when you get to tensors that's where the fun really.
Landon, you can't just make up words.
This is how I look at tensors. Okay, because again, way out to the fact. To me, you have like a zero ranked tensor would be like a line.
Yes.
Okay. Then you have a rank 1 tensor, which would be like some kind of two-dimensional something or other, some kind of space that's two-dimensional.
With values on a grid.
With values on a grid, sure, okay. Then you have if I remember correctly, you have another type of ranked tensor that's like an n by n matrix, and then you have a rank 3 tensor, which would be basically, let's say you have a field where you have a position of a particle with 6 degrees of freedom. It could go up, down, left, right, on the z-axis, pitch, yaw, and roll.
Yep.
The matrix for that. The effects of all the forces at that particular point, all the torsion, which torque would be your curl, all the things in that tensor field, that would be a rank 3 tensor, if I remember correctly. I mean, I'm again.
Yep.
This is hard shit to remember about tensor fields because it's like you're trying to recall. This is the one thing about math. Math is built upon prior concepts, right?
Yes.
Like, for example, I talked to my friend John, who is a mathematician, and we were talking about U substitutions for trigonometric integrals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said I hate them because I always have to go look. If I have an integral that there's no possible way I could just do as a simple integration. I have to go open a form, a book or something, and find the form for it, right? But he said, but did you have to learn the trigonometric reasons for this? And I'm like, we touched on them, but then I was like, he's like, here, watch a video that I did on it, and he talked about it. I was like, God damn, that makes sense that way. If I have like the integral of 1 over the square root of 4 minus x squared, right? Now think about that in your head. You can visualize it. So the integral of 1 over the square root of 4 minus x squared. You can actually apply that to a triangle and make it into the opposite of hypotenuse and find the sine, find the derivative of that to cosine. You can actually U substitute it, and all of a sudden it makes damn sense. It's a brilliant sense of why it ends up being like arc sine of x over 2, I think it is.
Yep.
Okay.
And those things are really really fun to delve
because
into.
he explained it, because he's like, hey, look at it this way, right? Look at it as a triangle. Because I was like, I don't understand how the fuck you get integration of this as arc sine, even though I know it's
when you see fractions, you're basically getting ratios of stuff, and ratios of stuff has analogs in trigonometry, which is really about pi and circles, right? It's really about that set that comes into play.
Maybe I should do a video on that one of these days. I thought I was like, see, I like those kind of conversations, though. I was like, yeah, this is fascinating, how you can actually put it as a triangle. And it makes sense as a U substitution.
And sine and cosines and so forth, no things like cosine laws and so forth, allows you, that's an important part of measuring the circumference and curvature of the Earth, right? So when I with my nieces and nephews and a lighthouse at the beach, we use that and merely what we can drive on the sand equations to measure the curvature of the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Because you basically make use of geometry and
I think the best is I raised to the I pi theta equals cosine theta minus I sine theta. That is the most brilliant formula of all mathematics.
Yep. Amazing.
By the way, William teaches mathematics. He teaches integral calculus. So
that certainly is it's fun stuff. So the problem, of course, is if you can get over the drudgery, right? That and in school where they're pounding into you addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, long division, all that sort of stuff. If you can get over that and get into the poetry of mathematics.
Yeah, they don't teach that though. They teach the rote memorization.
And that's
I didn't really understand the complex plane until I got out of high school.
We're going to drill into you memorization of spelling lists, and that's literature.
Yeah.
No. You need to have abstract multiply and divide, yes, but that's like penmanship and spelling to a person who wants to write a novel.
Example, like I didn't. It wasn't until I got into the Navy where they actually explained a better way of looking at a complex thing. Because for example, like let's say because we have learned mechanical engineering a little bit, right? So let's say you have a wrench, and you put a wrench on a nut, right? And you apply a 90-degree force perpendicular, right? Mm-hmm. Then you can use a cosine of the theta angle to determine what your angle of the force applied to the wrench of how much diminished force you're going to get. So that's, in other words, if I put a 30-degree angle on as compared to a 90-degree, which is going to be max, it tells you you can come up with a number how much newtons are going to be applied to the. Okay, so we all understand that, but then they explain right? They explain complex numbers, and if I think of complex numbers as rotation around like the x-axis, something that's off the xy grid, but I think it more of as a rotational vector with respect to like x or something like that, then it's like, oh shit, this makes sense.
Because in the complex plane, there's some amazing stuff that happens, and that's I mean, for me, what I get really excited about is things like the Riemann zeta hypothesis and the zeta function, and the stuff that happens in the complex plane, which is just an amazing set.
I was excited to find out that real numbers are a subset of complex, because all you're doing is you're taking a to the I plus b, and you're making that part of it zero. You're just taking a zero coefficient.
But the fact that it relates to the distribution of primes is just an amazing.
Yeah, I still don't know the correlation there, but that's your expertise.
Yeah. And
by the way, William, I just want to ask William, because he's a mathematician. Does he know Landon? Do you know each other? He probably may know you because you're famous, but I mean, does he You guys know each other?
Landon's famous.
Layman's a world-renowned mathematician, man. I mean, like, I know, scary, right?
You know, as I say, the beauty of the stuff is seeing things like, you know, the complex plane and some of those complex functions, Mandelbrot sets, and comparing to some, and it's a deep relationship with the primes and prime numbers and that sort of stuff is one of the amazing sets of things. And so, you know, if I had a wish of something to be accomplished in my lifetime, I would like the generalized Riemann hypothesis to be resolved. I want to know, is it true?
I can do it for. I used to be able to do it for trivial zeros. Does that count?
but that's the
On
thing that the zeta hypothesis, knowing whether it's true or false or undecidable. That's what I'd like to know in my lifetime, because it has such profound effects on both complex analysis and on.
So it didn't change your life when what's his name solved Fermat's last theorem? Didn't change your life?
No, we knew it was true.
Yeah.
Last season of The Bachelor didn't do it.
Riemann hypothesis has a much bigger.
Fermat's last theorem was you had a very strong hypothesis that was true, and Wiles and his colleague submitted and said yes, and here's the proof.
Hey, do you know?
It did not surprise people. The Riemann hypothesis, however, is probably the most sought after thing in number theory.
I agree.
And there are more things hanging in the balance on whether it's true or false than any other.
It's a hinge piece of mathematics. Matter of fact, it's funny. With Wittgenstein, we call it. There's a thing called hinge beliefs, but you know, I just put your wiki page out there. But do you know who actually? I just got a wiki page that I just found out. Kirsten Banks, our good friend Kirsten Banks, astrophysicist. You know, she, you know, we discovered her to the American audience who never heard of her. She was an Aborigine for Australia that was doing astrophysics, working on her PhD, and Americans fell in love with her from the Non Sequitur show. I still talk to her to this day, and she credits us basically exposing her to the American audience. But she just got her own wiki page. How cool is that? It's like why is everybody fucking I know has a wiki page besides me?
You do good stuff at least 5% of the time. You do good stuff.
Everybody we know has a wiki page. Even everybody we know. Like seriously, like I would say like 80% of the guests we had wiki pages.
Yeah, but still, again.
And I'm a nobody. I hate you.
Riemann zeta hypothesis.
Yeah, nobody.
Look that up and look up something, because again, and by the way,
I don't mind that.
Is it Riemann Brown has a really good.
I love them.
Video.
I'm gonna try to get them on. By the way, is that cool?
Yes, that would be fun. I would love to.
I've already got. I got to go, but I got confirmation of what's his name, Dillard, who just had 3 Blue 1 Brown on. I can't remember his name. He's a mathematician as well, but he wants to come on with me and you, and just talk some math stuff. He's the one that he just interviewed 3 Blue 1 Brown.
Because I would love to have a conversation about the things like the prime numbers and this really obscure complex analysis stuff and how they're just sort of tied together.
But isn't it because the prime numbers would follow on that critical line?
Yep.
So
if we had a definitive resolving of the Riemann zeta hypothesis, we'd be able to understand pi of x number of primes less than x, you know, precisely. But we need the zeta hypothesis done, and it's very difficult. It is very deep involved in number theory.
Well, he hasn't heard of you, Landon, so he apologizes for it.
Oh, I'm sorry. But anyway.
You know what? Here's the thing, though. Landon's like he's like the lowest key dude as far as like having no ego. He's like he has no ego whatsoever. That's what we love about him. He talks to us little people as if we're actual people. You know?
Well, you are. You are people.
And I love you. You're like, dude. I give you my word. Once all this crap is done, we will find a way to meet up, dude. And we've got God Auditor.
When we're out of this land of video,
absolutely,
we will sit down
have a drink
and have a good meal.
I would love this. That to me would be a culmination of my life. Seriously, I'd love.
And by the way, Mikey as well. You know, when
no, we're not inviting Mikey.
When I'm out near that spot, you know, in Illinois, we've got to have a time where at least if you have the ability to come out to that train station, we can at least meet.
I want to take a train to Boston, but it's too long.
I'm not showing up to work that day. They can figure something else out. I'll if you want me to come, I'll be 5 hours late. But if not,
I wouldn't mind going to Chicago, but Only because if I
No,
go to Chicago,
I'm not going to Chicago because they're quarantined. I'm going to go to the western edge of.
Well, I'm saying after all this is done, but I would go meet up with Mikey and grab him, and I would go to Boston and meet up at Sweet.
But I have to say this spot. It's a city in Western Illinois where they're going to transfer the car. I will be quarantined in from the line that's coming from California to Chicago and switching it to the line that goes to the south through New Mexico and Arizona.
Yeah,
I have to spend time where they move the car to a different track.
I gotta get going. Reds Rhetoric is gonna have his hangout in about 6 minutes on his channel, even though I don't see it yet on his channel. But he did tell me 6:30, so I'm gonna bring this to an end. But yeah, hey William, go check out Landon's page. He's a volcanologist. He's a computer scientist. He's a mathematician. He had 8 world records in mathematics at one time. I don't know if they're still standing. 2 of them before he was 18. I know all about Landon. I mean.
I love mathematics, so we should hang out sometime. Again, Steve, thank you very much for having me on.
I love it, dude. I don't get to talk about
um,
this kind of shit with anybody, man. Nobody cares.
Support people.
I care.
If this is interesting, support people you care about, because that's how they stay on the air. So
I know. I tell you this. I just had another Patreon because of math. He literally likes math, so it's like I thank you. So even though I'm not doing a lot of the other content that people have, my view count's way down. I'm doing the content that I want, and the people that want that kind of content, they have become Patreons. They become members, but they've hit the join button. They get a little green, name in the live chat. So yeah, William says, "Wow, impressive resume." Yeah, Landon, he's going to deny this, but don't listen to him. He actually helped develop the internet. I mean, actually helped develop the internet. I don't care what he says.
I have a plug. I mean, the 4.1c BSD socket stuff, and that sort of thing. Yeah,
he legit. I mean, if they ever did another top 200 smartest people in the world, you got to be in the top 20.
Edition of Unix, some of that sort of stuff. So yes, I've had some things to do with it, but I've had the pleasure of being with other people, amazing people.
He studied under Feynman, for God's sake.
Richie and
Hawking was basically, let's call up London. I mean, he's like,
I wanted to sneak this in before the show.
For God's sake. Yeah, you're good.
I wanted to sneak this in before the show was over. And Landon, this will resonate with you probably. Senator Lewis, his funeral was yesterday.
An amazing person. If you don't know who was.
John Lewis. My mom and stepdad were down there at Selma for his funeral, and she sent me some images over. And apparently, her and her new husband are, he is distant related to him, like a couple family members back. The family's like intertwined through marriage or whatnot. So it was an amazing thing she says, and it was that's why I dipped out for about 20 minutes there, because my mom wanted to tell me all about it.
I understand to say that he basically had his last transferred across the bridge, and if you know the bridge is, right? An amazing person, very low key but extraordinary in his capability.
Didn't Trump try to tweet something out of that, and people were telling him, "Don't even speak his name"?
I mean, talk about a person who had an extraordinary impact on people's lives.
Yeah, but do you know what I'm talking about? Trump would use anything politically, and it's just like people were telling him, don't.
Yeah, he's a schmuck.
Don't even mention John Lewis. You don't
even know,
right? He got a lot of backlash for that, from what I remember. So,
but that's an amazing person. We were fortunate enough to have him as part of our society, and yeah, I had a little tear when his coffin went over the bridge last time. If you know about the bridge and who was there and the number of times he crossed it when it was not crossable by people like him, good luck to him.
Yeah, well, these are amazing. It's a shame we don't have the caliber of people in politics like that any longer.
There are few like him, and if you know who is this person we're talking about, check him out.
Oh, John Lewis, look him up.
Yeah, Georgia, wasn't it? It was Georgia. He was a representative for Georgia. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Although he was born in Alabama, though, wasn't
he? Yeah, he represented Georgia. So, but again, and you talk about a person who had an impact on other people. I would be lucky if my life had impacted 5% of the people that he had.
All right, link is up for Reds Rhetoric's page, so I will send you guys all over there in a second. or at least I was told that.
And Mikey, we have the connection set up for August 6th and then August 9th.
Yeah, I'll put it on the bin Discord, the videos and stuff she sent me, because she apparently when they brought his body out of the church and then like put it with the horses to be drawn across the bridge, she was right there. So she's sending me this stuff right now, and then I'll post it in there.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks very much. This was a lot of fun. Again, we're going to do some more math stuff. We'll get Landon, but we'll see how it goes. But Mikey, always a pleasure, my friend. Jeff, always a pleasure too.
Thank you, Jeff.
Hey, Minions.
Thanks for having me on.
Minions, go over to Reds Hangout. Go, Minions. You know, I got so many Minions. There's going to be 5 people that tell them hi from Steve. Later.
Follow the bin podcast.